Sometimes my genius it's almost frightening.
This is the Wasted Nights podcast.
You just said then you were a kitchen fitter.
I was a kitchen fitter.
Yeah. And why, like, were you sick to death of that, or did you just fall into this because of obviously?
So I was a kitchen fitter for about 10 years, but I started drinking and taking drugs at a very early age, probably around the age of 15, 16. Started off with weed.
Yeah.
So smoking weed.
Everyone does. Gateway drug, isn't it?
I used to say to myself, weed's all I need. I don't need any other drugs or whatnot. So I was smoking weed. And then when I got to the age of 14, 15, it was pills. Pills come out. Ecstasy tablets. So I started taking them. I got to like 17, 18, cocaine come on the scene. But it's at that age that when you turn 18, there's no restrictions on you. So you can go out, you can go to a pub, you can go to a club, you can do what you want. You can stay out late, you can basically live your life. And then I started taking cocaine, and at the start, great. I've got no complaints. I had some of the best times of my life drinking and taking drugs. I will never go against that. So at that time, maybe 18 to 25, 26, maybe 27, great, really good time. But for me, it was all the going out and the partying and having a good time slowly started to die off. So I wasn't going out as much. I wasn't going to clubs. I wasn't going to nightclubs and spending time with friends and, you know, doing all the stuff that is enjoyable. Yeah. Slowly, it started going from, okay, well, I'll stop going to clubs. I'll just go to my mate's house and we'll just drink and take drugs there.
Yeah.
And then you do that for a little while, and then slowly it's just, well, I'll just stay at home. Just drink and take drugs at home. But then it became a weekly sort of thing that sort of integrated into my life for 10 years. It was something that I had to do on the weekends because it was what I recognised as fun. That's how I have fun.
Yeah.
Because that's what I used
because
to.
you'd had such a good time with it.
Such a good time, yeah. And I was kitchen fitting, so that was my job. And slowly, it started affecting all aspects of my life. So the kitchens, I mean, you miss work on a Monday, or you turn up. You may as well not turn up because you're there. You're not doing
a regular, are you?
So in the world of construction, you've got a set amount of time that you've got to do the job. 5 days. You miss one, you're a day behind. Yeah. So that would spill then into the weekend, into nights. Then to combat that as a way of coping, I get wrecked. You know, as a way of dealing with stress, and then it just snowballed into
bad decisions lead to more bad decisions after. Yeah.
It was going out, not going out, drinking and taking drugs every single weekend. That was affecting my work. It was affecting my relationship. It was affecting my mental health. It was affecting confidence, a massive one for me. I found that by doing that, I was becoming more and more introverted into myself. So when I wasn't drinking or taking drugs, I was very quiet. I'd hide it, but inside, the mental health behind it, I'd struggle with that. And then I'd use the drink and the cocaine as a way of confidence.
Yeah.
So have a couple of lines. Have a lines, Have a few drinks. I can chat then. But then what started happening is because the cocaine took over, and the science behind all why this happens in your brain, I started becoming paranoid. So I wouldn't want to be around people. I just want to be on my own. Then you can't speak. I mean, you must have met people. If you've seen people that are on it and they can't string a sentence together.
Oh yeah,
we've all been there.
And it just started spilling into that. And at the time, that was my life. It was kitchen fitting. But I'd argue for a good 10 years that I've not got a problem. And the main basis for my argument was, well, I go to work, I pay my bills, I pay off my mortgage. I don't do it every day. That was one thing I always said. I don't do it every day, so it's not a problem.
I can't have a problem because I only do it at weekends.
I only do it at weekends, and I would argue with my wife for I'd probably say 10 years. It's causing problems for that long.
How old were you? How old were you at this point? Like when it obviously it worse. How old are you now?
It's a good question.
I always forget this.
I'm 38. I was having a conversation with students today about this stuff.
Because you stop giving a fuck about your age after 30 and you don't want it to come. I've just had my birthday 2 weeks ago and I just had to think then, how old am I? So how old were you when you...
I was 34
right
when I stopped. So it's been...
So what made it all come to a head?
Just over 3 years. It was the effect that it was having on my life, and a big player, not the only player in the game, was when my son come along.
Right.
Because I had to start thinking about how are my decisions going to affect his life.
Yeah.
And I did everything that I said I wasn't going to do. When I have a son, I won't get wrecked all the time.
Yeah.
I won't keep him in the house and use while he's in bed and all this type of stuff. I said it, but there I was doing it. And I'll always admit that I'm very open. There's no point in lying. There's no point in,
Yeah, well, it's. I mean, you're trying to help people, so it's honesty's the way, isn't it? People need to know they're not on their own with that. I mean, there's loads of people do that. I mean, it's an odd. Because it was mostly coke that you were, which the biggest. Yeah, it's an odd drug, isn't it? Because it's not. If someone says like I was doing fucking smack and kids are upstairs, you're off your face, and obviously you're off your face and everything, but there's a functionality when you're on coke, isn't there? You can, you're not.
That's how just people justify it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean, though?
If you pilled up, there is no way that you could look after a kid.
No.
Because everyone would know.
Yeah.
You could do a bit of cocaine and people might not notice it. I mean, they most likely would, but
it don't
you
make
could
it
justify
right.
it to yourself, can't you?
Yeah, because you can still function. So you can still get stuff done. Yeah. You can still, do things, but it gets to a point where it's that not being able to stop part that gets people, because it went from I'll have a couple of bags on a Friday. Yeah, you struggle to sleep, feel rough the next day, but you stop. But then it gets to a point of, and how cocaine's so regularly available. When I was coming to the end of my using days, it was available 24/7.
Yeah.
You could just get it. Doesn't matter what time of day it was, morning, noon, night, within 15 minutes.
Delivery on your door.
They put Amazon to shame. They're amazing, aren't they?
Under 20-minute delivery is unreal, isn't it?
Lads used to brag at when we used to be out in the Black Bull in Preston. And they were like, watch this, and they'd send the text, and within the 5 minutes, and where that guy was hiding out, who knows? But it was like it was an impressive thing. It's not impressive when you look back. Oh, it's terrible. But,
15 minutes, it is. It's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, the availability.
We were just saying before this, before me and Dan both left for New Zealand and Australia, it was like 2013, 14, was it? Yeah.
Yes.
And cocaine wasn't really that fucking mega popular then. I knew a few people that had done it and what have you. And then we've come back, 3 years ago now?
Yeah.
2 years ago? And it's just fucking everywhere.
Yeah.
It is, the difference is astronomical. Literally everywhere you go.
Yeah.
There's no one not doing it.
Yeah. It's when you said that, 'cause thinking back at that sort of year, you had your users, if you like, the people who use cocaine, and then you had the people that didn't or looked down on it. But fast forward 5-6 years, everyone is in the same boat, and I can tell you, obviously now I know a lot of people that don't do it, but at the time, everybody I know, people who wouldn't even think or hid it very, very well.
Yeah.
Very bizarre how everyone hides it still, isn't it? Everyone in the group's on it, and everyone still sneaks off. That does their own thing. I don't know what that is. The thing, but it's
you
always...
find that users, I call them now, they will stick together, so they'll bunch off and they'll disappear from places. They'll spend a couple of hours in a pub or a club, and slowly they'll just all disappear because they were. I mean, I've been there myself. You want to go back to the comforts of a house where you can, get on it freely. You don't have to hide. You don't have to go to toilets. And you fit in because everyone else is doing it there. In places where you're out when there's people not doing it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You become paranoid, edgy, a bit weird. Like, does he know that I'm on it and all that sort of stuff? And it makes you feel uncomfortable.
This guy in the toilet.
Yeah. So you find that everyone bunches together. All users will bunch together and slowly disappear into someone's kitchen. Usually, that's the place where everyone ends up.
Yeah, see, it's not. I mean, me and Tom we've partied, we've had a good time, but we've both been lucky to kind of swerve that curve, you know.
Very looking at some of the people.
Yeah, we have.
around
So
here.
we've never. When you hear someone talk about it like that, it's like for me, if I was in the dates, I'd want to be out at a rave, you know, or a thing. That's what it's for when it's one off.
It's used for what they say it's for, that social interaction, you know.
Yeah.
Taking drugs out in raves and places like that. That's where you'd probably use it. Whereas the crossover happens when you start sitting at home.
Yeah.
Watching fucking Coronation Street. You know what I mean?
Christ. Probably fucking better.
It sounds
than
insane when you put it like that.
It does,
doesn't
yeah, honestly. Sitting there, you don't watch the movie.
No, do you?
But you put the movie on and he's just sniffing cocaine. It's like, this is fucking pointless.
Yeah.
You know?
What sort of? Because you said obviously you weren't doing it every day. What did you get to? Maybe weekends.
So it would always be a Friday or a Saturday.
Yeah.
Friday because I was off work in the morning, or Saturday
Yeah.
because I was off work.
Yeah.
When my son was born, Sunday was family day. So I try and use it the Friday.
Yeah.
And be rough the Saturday, so I could do the family day.
Yeah.
That actually worked for a small space of time. But my problem is not having that ability to stop. So if there was a smallest chance that I could carry on, I'd take it. And with it being available at the click of a button,
Yeah.
it's 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, I was getting more.
Yeah.
I mean, there were times when I'd drink a loads of alcohol to try and make myself sleep. Because once you're on cocaine, you can't sleep. Drink loads of alcohol to get to sleep, but then I'd just feel rough the next day. Or I'd become drunk, then I'd want more. It was a
Horrible cycle.
It was a cycle, honestly. It was awful, man.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, fortunately, you're obviously keeping it away from the weekdays. I mean, some people slip into that and then they're knackered. Then
I'll be honest. Sometimes it was always a weekend thing, always. But sometimes in the week, now it would depend on what was going on. So if Mrs. had a friend round for tea, that would be my excuse.
Yeah.
Because there's a whole load of science that goes into it, but your brain. So if you think about that, the whole time going out, drinking, taking drugs, your brain is I can't think of the word now. Conditioning itself that drinking drugs equal a good time. So what happens when you go out, you drink, you take drugs, you have a good time. You meet friends for a meal, you drink, you take drugs, you have a good time. You meet, you go any event, watch football, whatever it is, go out for a meal. Drinking drugs becomes part of that, so you start introducing it into absolutely everything.
Yeah.
So years and years down the line, someone comes around your house for a meal, that sets off that automatic response, that cue for, well, you drink, you take drugs to have a good time.
Yeah.
And that's where I'd end up getting on it in the week.
Yeah, someone comes around Thursday night and you go, well, I can be rough Friday.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have a couple of beers.
Yeah.
You always justify it, don't you?
Yeah, I know.
Just one.
Yeah,
As long as I'm in bed by 12 o'clock, I'll get 8 hours sleep. I'll still get up in the morning. You tell yourself that.
And it's 8 hours of the worst sleep you could ever have as well, if you manage to sleep.
If you manage to sleep.
Yeah.
You manage to sleep about 10, 15 minutes before your alarm. That's when you manage to just get drift off and then poof, there's your alarm.
Yeah, it's not good. It's I was thinking about before we sat, knowing you were coming, and I was curious how old you were when they went through it, because when you're 22, you can do them weekends every time, and you don't.
Doesn't seem to bother you. Get up on a Saturday and go to work, and it's not an issue, is it?
And I'm convinced, especially cocaine, but obviously alcohol, it doesn't seem to bring you down the same. And as you start getting a little older, it's having a whole different effect on your body. It seems. I don't know if you'd agree, but
yeah. So alcohol, to be honest, I wouldn't say it's worse, but it's a depressant, so it brings you down. So after a night of drinking, anxieties and things will stem off the back of that. I mean, there's a whole scientific thing to it.
Yeah.
The chemical GABA, I think it is. I don't actually know the whole sort of chemical things in it, but chemically in your brain, alcohol starts releasing a chemical that your brain has to fight, and that chemical creates anxiety. So when you come off the alcohol, you've got too much of this chemical that's creating anxiety, and that's where you're getting your anxieties the next day and the worry, and then you just mix cocaine into the
Give it yourself the ultimate dopamine hit and amplify that depression the next day.
But you're right, when you're younger, you can do it.
Yeah, it's a mix of, it feels like it was a mix of, obviously your body's working better in a sense and it can get rid of it a bit, whatever. But also at 22, you can sleep until 1 o'clock in the afternoon, not give a fuck about anything.
No responsibility.
You're not thinking about work. You only think about work when you go to bed at 10 o'clock at night and go, fuck, I've got work. You don't care. But as you start to get a bit older, you assess, I want to make the most out of my day tomorrow and I'm not going to now. Or, you wake up and go, I've just slept at 1 o'clock. If I slept till 1 now.
Oh, yeah, you feel like you've wasted.
Yeah.
You got a taste of your own mortality once you get over 30, though, haven't you? Because you realise that it's not going to last forever. You can already see things starting to slow down, so it must end.
You
Whereas
appreciate
at 20,
it,
you can't see that at all.
No.
You get up the next day after a big session and you're ready to go.
Yeah, when your mum used to come into your room on a Saturday morning, open curtain, stop wasting the day, and you're like, this is exactly how I want to spend my day. I'm loving this, being in bed. And now, I think anything past 8 now, and I'm like, I want to be up and about. You just start caring a little bit more at our age, don't you?
Also, as well, your tolerance to alcohol and drugs builds. The longer you're doing it, the more tolerance you get in your brain. So the larger the amounts that you can
the
drink
worse you feel.
and take drugs. So, like, when you first start, especially with the cocaine, little tiny coin in a club, that's a good 40 minutes of fun, confidence, walking around, chatting to people, life and soul of the party. Another 40 minutes goes by, a little tiny bump. But as the years goes on, the dopamine receptors in your brain, they start to build a tolerance to cocaine, because your brain's not designed for that amount of dopamine chemically released from this drug. So they build a tolerance. So as the years goes on, the line or coin will get bigger, and the time that you take in between will get shorter. So it'll be 20 minutes. And fast forward another couple of years, the line's bigger. It's every 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then go further, where I got to, it's like a big, massive line every 5 minutes. Because
Christ.
your brain's... it's basically that saying where you're chasing your first line. Technically, you are.
Yeah.
Because that first initial use of cocaine was great. It had to have been, because we wouldn't keep doing it.
Yeah.
You feel great, but as you fast forward throughout the years and years, you're just not getting that hit anymore, and that's why your use goes up. And then, because you're using large amounts, your brain then floods with dopamine, a place called your synapse in between neurotransmitters. That floods, and too much dopamine in your brain causes paranoia, delusional thoughts and hallucinations. And that's basically where a lot of people that are using cocaine get to, is paranoia. Delusional thoughts as well. Not so much hallucinations, not heard of much of that, no one's come in and said there's donkeys running across my room, but shadows, things moving or curtains moving, that's why everyone's so paranoid, looking out the windows and checking letterboxes, rooting through cupboards and all that type of stuff. I don't know if you've seen any of this, but this is the stuff that
I've been paying more attention just since we first booked this in with you, and now listening to a few lads and saying their experiences. Oh, Jesus Christ, and they just basically stayed up all night, curtain twitching, and I couldn't believe it. I didn't know it got that bad on that. It's
that's it, because the more they use him, the more tolerance is building. So the more the amount they need to try and fill that sort of satisfaction, they're using more, and they're creating more dopamine. The brain's starting to flood with dopamine, and that's where the paranoia comes from. That's why
Shit, really?
Yeah. So you see people looking at the curtains all the time, don't you? And stuff like, going shh. You have people in the house just literally whispering to each other all night.
Jesus Christ.
It's when you end up on your own. That's the problem.
Yeah.
when you end up on your own, I mean, that's when addiction's setting in, because you're on your own using. You become disconnected from social events. So when you are actually using on your own, the thought of going out sounds great, but the paranoia that's going to come from that, you'll stay away from it. So you become disconnected from the actual use of what cocaine was for, socialising.
Yeah.
You become trapped on your own, just doing it by yourself.
It's a full-on addiction.
Yeah. It's for me, that's why I ended up by myself. I wouldn't go to places. The only reason I'd go somewhere is because my wife, she'd like to socialise and do things normal. I'd come along, but I'd start using, become very closed off, couldn't look people in the eye. I just want to get off home.
Yeah.
Just paranoid. It was awful, honestly.
I can imagine.
For a good 5-6 years, me using cocaine, I did not enjoy it one single bit. I hated it.
Wow.
But I just kept doing it, and that's where I started. That's just realised that I've got an addiction. Although I'd argue for fucking cows come home that I did, and I'd use that. I don't do it every day. I'm allowed to have fun. I need my release. I still pay my half the bills, all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
But that was my argument for a long time. But looking back, I can see clearer now. Looking back now, I can think, okay, well, I didn't like it for at least 5-6 years. It was boring. It was horrible. It was weird. It was wired. It was edgy. It was paranoid. Not enjoyable. One bit.
It doesn't sound very nice.
It's not. Honestly, it doesn't. It's horrible. And there'll be a lot of people out there that are living like this. And think. I used to think that I was strange. I was weird. The only person that does this type of stuff, sitting in a room by themselves and TV on mute, in the dark, you know. This sounds shit, doesn't it? It really does. Just the more I'm explaining it, but there'll be a lot of people that are doing this.
Yeah.
Just the effects of what cocaine are having on them. And this is one message that I really want to get out there, is if you're at that point where you're doing that, you're done with cocaine. You're never going to go back to that
the fun
time.
Yeah.
From that point there, it only gets worse. And then drug-induced psychosis is next. So paranoia.
So what's drug-induced psychosis?
So that's like psychosis where you're hearing voices in your head.
Right.
And not being able to distinguish. Because what happens when you're on cocaine, you get all paranoid, you get weird, you get wired, you start thinking weird stuff like people are out to get you. But when you come off that, you're quite clear that, what was I thinking? You look out your garden, of course there's no one there.
Yeah.
You know, in your head you're thinking, that was weird. But then you get back on it and do exactly the same thing. But you can distinguish, okay, I'm sober now. That was weird. That wasn't me. That was just paranoid weird just from cocaine. Where psychosis comes into it is you can't distinguish reality from actually being on the drug. So that's where paranoia starts to set into real life. Then you start to actually think that all the things that you think when you're on drugs start becoming reality in real life. That's the next step.
That sounds fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
So it really starts washing over into your personal life.
Life.
And then you have that family day or something,
and a lot of, you know, I've met a few people, to be honest, that have been down that road. You can get out of that.
Yeah.
But that's the next step from that using on your own, being paranoid, weird and wired on your own. That's your next step. Scary when you think about it. Now I'm talking about it, I'm thinking, fucking hell. Why would I live that life? But when you're in it and you live in it and it becomes the norm, you know, everybody around you drinks, everybody around you takes drugs, you spend, your whole life is planned around it. So all the friends that you have drink and take drugs, so everything that you plan is based around drinking and taking drugs. You'll call it barbecues or call it catch-ups, but reality is you all want to meet, you all just want to drink and take drugs. That's what you do. Is you gravitate towards those people and you just live your life, and it starts coming into everything. Holidays, breaks away, obviously nights out, hotel night with your partner. It takes over your life.
And were you having were any of your mates at the time in a similar level? Did any? Yeah. And were you even discussing that at the time?
I was having a conversation with one of my friends about joining recovery,
Right.
We sat there and we had this conversation, like, we need to stop this. So we was recognising in ourselves that this is a problem.
Yeah.
That was probably about a year or two before I actually went into recovery.
It took you that long?
Oh, yeah.
Shit.
Yeah. But, yeah, a lot of the people I know are doing this now.
Yeah. I just imagine a lot of the boys, they'll get together and they'll only talk about, we're just partying tonight, lads.
Yeah.
And if they all go home and they're doing that curtain switch, they ain't going to tell each other necessarily. Bloody dog.
I mean, don't get me wrong, there will be people out there that are somewhat doing it in moderation. But to me, if you're doing it on a weekly basis,
you
can't go.
I'll pause it because it's going to ruin what you're about to say.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. Bloody dog. We're a little bit lost, but where we were at is obviously you discussed it with your mate. It took you a couple of years to get into that, so
yeah. So
why do you think it took you that long to sort of do it?
It was the fear of life will be boring without it. If I stop drinking and stop taking drugs, my life's over.
Right.
And as mad as it sounds, I can look back clearly now and see, well, I lived this horrible life anyway.
Yeah.
It's like, I won't be able to have fun anymore, I won't be able to go out, I won't be able to have a laugh. The reality was, I wasn't even able to laugh anyway. I sat by myself in my room, not being able to speak in the dark. It's not fun. It's mad looking back now because I can see it so clear, but at the time it was fear of missing out. Confidence was a massive one. Because I'd used alcohol, cocaine for confidence, I believed if I stop, I won't have confidence, even though when I was on it, I didn't have confidence anyway.
Yeah.
I'd be turned into a right shell of myself. It's so paranoid and weird. But mostly that fear, because the science behind it is your brain conditions that drinking drugs equal a good time. That's how you live. It's how you have fun. And it happens over years and years and years and years. So when you're thinking about stopping, it's like, well what do I do with my life? What am I actually going to do?
You don't know anything outside of it.
You don't know anything outside of it. So, and I'd say as well, the feeling, that first line, that first hit, that bit, that's your dopamine release in your brain. So chemically and scientifically, that happens. You get a big, huge amount of dopamine, which creates satisfaction and pleasure in your brain off the first line. So that, not having that was like a fear, like, what am I going to do? But it was all, I'd say fear, that was stopping me.
Yeah.
It's fear of not having the drink and not having the drugs.
You're not on your own at all there, because I'd say that's just, you'll have seen it, I'm sure. It's just about every person's opinion, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can
worried about not having fun anymore.
Yeah, in different levels.
Life will be boring as well. That's another thing that I thought. If I stop drinking and taking drugs, my life's going to be boring. But like I'm saying, and now I can look back and think I was living a boring life anyway. I was just getting wrecked on the weekend, not enjoying it, to only then suffer, be regretful, miss work, argue with the wife, create a whole catalyst of problems from getting wrecked, and then try and fix them in a week, get somewhat back into reality, and then do it all over again. Yeah. But I used to think by Thursday I was in sound mind. I was okay. I was normal. But reality was, I'd say 3 months it took me to actually start thinking clear. 3 months of stopping drinking and taking drugs.
Took you that long?
3 months
for the fog to lift.
Yeah. I was like, I'd say about 3 months. I was like, wow, I can actually think clear. I can plan. I can see clearly, what it is I'm doing in life, and start just looking at life from a whole different perspective of goals and what I actually want to achieve in my life now. Back at drinking and taking drugs, the goal was to get wrecked.
Yeah.
That was it. Everything that I planned, the goal was to get wrecked. Weekends, the goal is to get wrecked. It was just, took over my whole life.
It becomes so, we've we've never got that bad, but it's so habitual, isn't it?
Yeah, can be. Yeah.
And when you get to that Thursday,
it was with weed. Like when we were 18, I remember the first time I went a few months without smoking weed when I was about 20, 21. And I've noticed after a couple of months that I could actually do maths in my head at work. It was a revelation to me. Like, oh shit, I'm not actually that thick. I am thick, but you
still can't spell. But
yeah, do math.
It's mad you said that. I was having this exact conversation with someone just the other day. So I used to work in a restaurant behind a bar, and I think a pint was £3.40. Thinking back now, it's probably a lot more now. I don't know, but
oh, it is.
Yeah, I noticed if I'd get wrecked on the weekend, come Monday, someone orders a pint, it's £3.40 and gives me a fiver. I'm like, just looking at them thinking, what the fuck's the change? Now I know what the change is. Any other day I'm like, yeah, here's your change, but I'm like, you haven't got the cognitive function, have you?
Yeah.
To work.
Because I presume it's because your brain is still trying to recover all the dopamine and serotonin that you smashed out at the weekend.
Yeah, trying to get back to normal levels, but
you're exhausted, aren't you? Your whole body, again, like because you don't sleep. Or even if you pass out, the sleep is not. The average person can tell that if they do it once, can't they? The sleep is terrible.
Alcohol's the worst one for that because it works like a sedative. So when you get blind drunk and you fall asleep, you're actually sedated. Brain's not actually at rest.
Yeah, you're not getting REM sleep.
You're not getting REM sleep. So when you wake up, although you might have had a long time period sleeping, you're actually more tired.
Yeah.
Because
that's definitely true.
It does. It has that effect on you. I mean, the alcohol, drugs, the effect they have on your life. But on your brain and everything, and cocaine and alcohol mixed together is cocaethylene. So they create their own chemical drug, if you like.
Right.
That's why you might find a lot of people, they'll say, I'm not getting on it tonight, I'll have a few drinks. And they'll have a drink, and they'll stand by this, no, I'm not getting on it. And have another drink. Then, third drink in, they're like, should we go back? What's happening in your brain is, it's like the alcohol and the cocaine, they marry together. They become a drug of their own. So you can't do one without the other. Right. It'd be like eating a roast dinner with no gravy. Sooner or later, you're going to go to the shop and get some gravy and be like, I'm not eating this. But an analogy to look at it is like that. Because you're having the alcohol in your brain, something's missing. That release of dopamine, it's not high enough. So that's why a lot of the time people will start drinking and then eventually end up on the cocaine.
So, because I always just told myself or assumed it was a habitual thing, but there's an actual craving going on. Yeah. I always assume, because people don't do it until they have a beer, so either it's more habitual and then they fancy it. So it's not necessarily addictive, it's just a fancy in it because it's a habit. Yeah. But there's an actual reaction going on.
There's a chemical reaction
right.
going on. The
makes way more
the two
sense.
Together, then you've got, it's a whole new chemical, if you like, a whole new drug.
Right.
It's got alcohol and cocaine mixed together. So doing one without the other doesn't happen. Yeah. It does for some. Like for me personally, I drink then take cocaine. Yeah. In the 20s, 25, 26. But then it got to a stage where I'd want the cocaine. I'd have to know that the cocaine's there till I started drinking.
Right.
And then it got to a stage of, if I can't get the cocaine, I'm not going to bother drinking. Because the drink was just half of the pie. I want the full pie.
And you probably stressed about it all night that you didn't have any anyway or something.
Yeah, so sometimes if I'd get drunk, that I would seek out cocaine.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't even enjoy my night because I'd want the cocaine. And you might have seen this happen in parties, or if you've ever been in this situation, a group of people will start drinking and everyone in the head's waiting for someone to go and get back.
Oh, yeah.
Then someone says it, they're like, yeah, come on, let's
yeah.
go. Let's get back, ring the guy. Now, if you've ever been in that situation and you can't get hold of it, if ever that happened,
yeah.
Sitting, you can't get hold of it, the whole night gets abandoned. Everyone goes, fuck it. There's no point now. And everyone just goes home. Because the decision in the brain is, we're going to have cocaine with the alcohol, we're going to have this fun. You can't get the cocaine. The alcohol seems insufficient now. It's like, well, this is shit.
Yeah.
The whole night gets abandoned. I've been in that situation. Not many times, but I've been in that situation. I don't know if you've been.
I've seen it. Yeah, I've seen it. I did see one night, though, it made me realise is I was actually driving this night, so I was dead sober, and I was watching some of the other lads, and they were struggling. And when the option went, the mood went up. Because, I mean, you think it's fun, but when you're on it, most of the lads aren't even fun anymore. Yeah. But when they're not on it, it was the funniest
sessions.
I ended up staying for like 5 hours sober because I was just watching them have a laugh. Because I know we're not saying like drinking's great on this podcast right now, but like they were just having fun. It didn't get curbed off by getting the bags. And I watched everyone have a good time, and I was just enjoying watching it. I was like, fucking hell, it just reminded me like, wow, this drug is not the party drug anymore.
I've seen it happen. A lot of times the energy in the room drops. Like people will just drink. They're having fun, like you said there. They're laughing, they're joking, because alcohol creates that. Then the decision is, should we get a bag? Yeah. Then the bag arrives. Then the music that was blasting
gets down.
The dancing stops. People start to bunch off into little tiny groups, don't they? And it gets very serious and very
therapy sessions.
Sessions, and you get deep, and it takes the whole energy out of the room.
Of course
it really does. And if the people who never do it, they'll see it like mad, and they'll just start seeing that there's 3 people out of the room at all times because they're all in the toilets, having a meeting and whatever. And you just you think when you're on it though that everyone's having a blast. This is great. And but no, actually, all you're doing is talking about your thoughts. No one wants to know about your thoughts and feelings on a night out. That's
talking about shite, basically.
No one wants to know your thoughts and feelings most days, anyway.
No.
Fucking keep that shit to yourself.
You tell people your deepest, darkest secrets, and the next day you're like, shit. Shit. What have I told them? But then it's mad because it gets to when it starts to get light. Then you see the energy drop more. Everyone's like looking at each other. Everyone's bunched together now, and there's one card left on the table with a little bit underneath, and then everyone's like, oh, fuck, it's going out soon. And then you see people looking at each other thinking, shit, this it's over. I was the one that's going, let's get some more. But you get the people that go, oh, I've got to go to bed now, and then you've got to go through that horrible come down, the dreaded, I always call it the guaranteed come down, I say on my videos. It's go home. For the lads, I'll grass them all up now. The porn comes out, doesn't it? And it does, and that's the sequence that happens, and then you just struggle to sleep. What I used to do was use alcohol, so you find you're just necking straight vodka or stuff like that, or just really strong drinks to sedate yourself. That's what it is. Yeah, you do that to fall asleep, and then wake up even worse, in a worse state. But
that them last few shots would be like fresh in the mind in the morning, wouldn't it? Still processing it.
But cocaine, now I'm out of it, I can sort of, because I've lived it, experienced it, I can see it for what it is now. It's just a horrible drug. It destroys lives. It takes parents away from the children in terms of not being present. Like, I've been places where a kid's party turns into just a load of adults getting on it. Yeah. It does. It was like I was saying before. Oh, we're having a kid's party. Without even saying it, we're gonna get wrecked. Little half-assed kids party. Then you push them. You push them into the front room, sweets and that. Just close the kitchen doors, and all the adults they're getting wrecked. I've been in these situations. I look back now, and that's why I can see it for what it is. I'm not excusing myself because I've done it. I've been in those situations, but it's horrible. So a kid's party's turned into a binge of cocaine, a load of adults, and then kids being kept way past the bedtime, putting taxis on their way home, and it really does take people away from reality of what you do and the things that you do when you're on cocaine.
Yeah, it's frightening, really, isn't it? When you look at it with sober eyes.
Yeah.
And we make the same mistakes with alcohol as well, and you know, it's all of it. It's
getting on alcohol. It's so much fun at the time, isn't it?
Mm.
It really is. It's a great time.
Yeah.
So you wake up.
I suppose it's having that cut-off point. So there are people out there that can go out, drink, have fun, go home, go to bed. Okay, yeah, they're a bit rough for the next day, but in reality, they've had a great time. There is people out there that could go out, drink, have a few lines, go to bed. May feel rough the next day, but it's not affecting their life.
Yeah.
But then there's the people that start taking it too far, where it's go out to a club, back to someone's house, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, or a 2-day bender, and then that's where that starts affecting everything else in your life, your whole week. Because you lose your drive, you lose your ambition, you lose any sense of wanting to better yourself, because you spend the whole week just
recovering.
Yeah, recovering. Your head so far up your ass, you can't be arsed.
It is recovering, and it feels fucking awful, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And you get to Friday, and that's the day you start feeling good, and then it's a horrible circle, isn't it? You want to then celebrate how good you feel.
I had a hard week at work, haven't I?
I deserve it. Yeah.
I'm feeling good again. It's time.
I turned up every day this week. Yeah. Go me.
You reward yourself for that. That's why it's a cycle. It goes round. You do the same thing every weekend. Don't even have fun. Suffer all through the week and do it again. That's where addiction starts setting in. You know, I was seeing a lot of videos floating around, like 5 questions to know if you're addicted to cocaine. I can't remember what they are, but for me, there's one simple question: is do you keep doing it when you're trying not to?
Yeah,
that is the definition of addiction.
Yeah,
and I see so many people trying not to get on it, but end up getting on it. That's addiction.
Yeah,
it is. And if you think about it, if you look at that, the results that you're getting can't be good if you're trying not to do it.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed it, you wouldn't try not to do it. You'd be like, oh, fucking, I like this. I'll keep doing it. But if for anyone that sees this podcast, if they're at that stage where they're trying not to drink or trying not to take drugs, and then they end up doing it, that's your addiction.
Yeah.
Straight away. I wish someone had said that to me 5-6 years ago. It took me ages to admit the fact that it was an addiction.
There's 1,000 ways you can justify it to yourself, and
yeah,
absolutely.
And I actually reached out. It was 1.5 years before I actually went into recovery, so I filled out all the forms online, and I sat there. I must have been about 15 minutes. The submit buttons on my phone. Sat in my kitchen. I'm just like, all that fear. What's life going to be like? But I pressed it in the end, and I received an email back saying that the courses are full at the moment. That was the ultimate excuse then. Don't fucking tell me I didn't try. It's not my fault the courses were full. I tried. Milked that for about 1.5 years until again I got to that stage where I thought enough's enough. No, I can't do this anymore.
So that's what you paid for, like a course.
Yes.
Then so what's that process? What process did you go through for this?
Break Free in Liverpool.
Right.
So it was a paid program. It's really good. Well, it worked for me.
Yeah.
So it was a good program, but I reached out to them, but it was full because they couldn't take a certain
you can't
amount
take
on.
everyone.
So I was like, that's all I needed then for another 1.5 years to argue my case that I tried to. But yeah, another 1.5 years of the same consistent cycle of getting wrecked, regretting it, arguing, just tension in my house to no ends because I couldn't stop. And for me, like Sunday was supposed to be family day, so I think in my wife's sort of head, she's thinking, well, if I book this in, he won't get wrecked then because he knows he's got this. That wouldn't work for me, because once I'd made that decision that I was wanting to sniff beak, I was doing it. In your head, once you've made the choice that you're doing it, you're going to do it. Come on, me, you'll go to the ends of the earth. And then once I was on it, I couldn't stop. I'd say, oh, don't worry, I'm only going to have one bag. I'll still get up in the morning. I won't go too mad. I won't justifying it, End up getting on it, and it's the same cycle. Stay up all night, drink yourself silly to trying to sleep, and then it's ruined the next day. I wouldn't want to go to these places. I wouldn't want to.
Guess the last thing you want to do is go out and socialise with people after you're dealing with that head noise.
I mean, countless amount of times I've missed meals and days out and things like that because I was just rough at home.
And even if you go to them,
yeah, you're not much use, are you?
No one really wants you there in the end, do you? You sit there with your face on you.
Yeah. Just feeling rough and looking a mess, thinking a mess, paranoid as well. Thinking everybody knows your situation. It's horrible places to be. For me, it was like stuff like that now. Like I remember when I got into recovery and I started actually enjoying the simple things in life, because my brain was wired that you have to have drink and drugs to have this great time. That's where your fun's at. So if that didn't happen, we didn't drink and take drugs. For me, simple things like, I remember my wife always used to say to me, she'd say, I'd love to go to Grosvenor Park, the place where I live, make a picnic, make all our sandwiches and go and sit in the sun and just have a nice little day.
Yeah.
I love that now. That to me is great. I'm like, what a nice day that would be.
Yeah.
But when I was in addiction, that would seem insufficient. That's like, that sounds fucking shit, because there's no drink, there's no drugs involved.
Yeah.
I'd do these things, but then I'd use that as an excuse. Well, I've done that, so I can have a little drink tonight, a little thing, and spoil it again. But that's because in my brain, insufficient things like that at the time wouldn't feed to my addiction. It wouldn't seem sufficient for me. It'd be like, I don't want to do that because I'd rather drink and take drugs. And I remember I think I was a couple of months into recovery. It was a Sunday. It was a Sunday morning. I decided, I was sat there and my son was running around, and I decided I'm going to take him to the park. So simple. This sounds so simple. People do this. Or people that don't get on it anyway will do this, all the time. But I didn't do stuff like that because Sunday I was rough.
Yeah.
Or if I did do stuff like that, I wouldn't be present.
Yeah.
I'd just be walking behind like this. Oh, fucking hell, I want to go around, all that type of stuff. I decided to take my son to the park, and I remember he was running. He was only small. He was running down the path, running towards the park, and dead excited. And that for me, that day was like, it was almost this epiphany that happened in my brain. I was like, wow, I become so happy with myself. I was so overjoyed that I was doing this with my son. It sounds so simple, but for me it was amazing. And the biggest thing for me, it was Sunday. It was 10 a.m. The sun was shining, and I was down the park with my son, and I got this overwhelming sense of satisfaction, better than any drug. It was like, wow, I'm actually doing something with my life. And as I keep saying, it sounds so simple, but seeing that and doing that, I was like, I want to live like this for the rest of my life. I don't want to go back to ignoring my son, just being on the sofa, just dying. I want
beautiful.
him to live life. And another big thing that come into.
So at what point did that happen?
That was when I was in recovery.
That was when you were in recovery, right?
You said a couple of months in.
So
were you like fighting it a little bit up until then? Like,
so
it would.
I found recovery at the start so easy.
Right.
I was like, this is.
Because you've made the decision, and that was
made the decision in my head. I said to myself, I am not failing at this, because I had a big bank of stuff that I knew that I have to complete this. As my son and wife come into it a lot, because I thought, especially with my son, because I knew that, like case in point now, he goes swimming every Sunday, 10 o'clock. I take him most times. But I knew back in, if I was still using, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, if he's, whatever it may be, football, karate, swimming, it's something on the weekend, I knew for 100% certainty if I stayed in addiction, drinking, taking drugs, I know 100% I'd be letting him down.
Yeah.
I'd not take him. I'd probably rely on my wife to do it, and she'd end up doing it, or I'd have to take him, and I'd be either hungover to death, still wired, still off my head.
Yeah.
And I looked at that. I sat back one day and I looked and I thought, do I want to be that person? Because he didn't ask to be born into this world, but why should my actions affect his life?
Yeah.
So it played a massive part in my decision to stop, because I knew I put drink and drugs before everything. And once I made that decision, it didn't matter what was going on the next day. Could have to be at the airport at 6:00.
Yeah.
You're still going.
Still going to get seshed.
There's loads of science behind why this happens. You know, it's to why we do it. But it was looking at my life and thinking, I had responsibilities, but I wasn't responsible for another life.
Yeah.
And that was one of the biggest things that played part into me stopping. I mean, don't get me wrong, it took me a year and a half to realise that, but it was a huge part in for me stopping, because he was responsible. I was responsible for him. If he didn't have me, then no one, there was no one there to guide him. There was no one there to show him how to be a man in this life. Because I was a boy. I look at it like this. I was a boy until I was 34. I was trying to live my teenage or 18 to 25. I was trying to keep reliving that.
Yeah.
And I was just an immature boy. Didn't take responsibility, wouldn't take accountability, blamed everybody else, and it just deflecting everything. So that's why I look at it. I look at myself. I was a boy until I was 34, a little boy that just made excuses.
Yeah.
But then when I got off drinking drugs, I turned into a man. I started looking at actually taking care of my responsibilities, owning my wrongs, not making excuses, and just for me it was like I was reborn after recovery.
Yeah.
It was my chance now to do things different, because for me my whole life I was a starter. I was never a finisher.
Yeah.
I'd start things, I'd talk a good game, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I went to college, I went to uni, got kicked out of uni, started up businesses, didn't really follow through. I talked of all this great stuff that I'm going to do in my life in kitchens at 6 o'clock in the morning. That's where this talk would come into play.
Yeah.
But reality was, I wasn't. I was a record.
Yeah.
I was just a complete record. That's what I call myself. Playing like I was a man. Playing like I was in control of my life. I was in control of my responsibilities. I'm going to raise my son right. But if I didn't stop,
Yeah, you would never have done it.
I'd have never have done it.
So your course that you went on, is that related to what you do now?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the system that's based off is called rational recovery.
Yeah.
And the idea behind that is, why would we keep doing something using our rational brain that is causing so much pain in our lives? Like, rationally, it makes no sense.
Yeah.
Like, if I said to you now, punch that window through, you wouldn't do it.
You just wouldn't do it. Yeah.
You just wouldn't.
This retard mind.
I could sit here for a long time trying to convince you of doing it, but you wouldn't do it. But have you ever done that? You got emotional, then you punch something.
No, not really.
Never done that? Like, angry and
I felt the red mist drop a few times, when you hurt yourself.
or smash something, or
Yeah.
broke something, or
Thrown a
control
spanner.
or
Yeah.
something like that. So that's irrational.
Yeah.
Irrational thing, like breaking your own game console, is irrational. But rationally, it makes no sense. So the whole idea of rational recovery is, start looking at rationally, why would you keep doing something that's causing so much destruction in your life?
Yeah.
And then on the back of that, there's AVRT, which is addictive voice recognition technique. So that's identifying the addictive voice that lives inside of you. Because addiction, how I say it develops from what we was talking before. All those years of conditioning our brain that drink and drugs equal fun, that eventually develops into an addiction. And that becomes your sole drive for fun. That's why you introduce it into absolutely everything. You can't go anywhere meet anybody without turning it into a bender. So your brain conditions itself, and that creates an addiction. But it's about recognising that addiction. They call it the addictive voice. So it's the same voice that tells you just to get one, you'll still be in bed by 10. It's only 6 o'clock now. As long as you do it in by 10 o'clock, you'll be fine. You still go to work. Have you ever had that happen? I don't know you personally, but have you ever sat there and argued with yourself, like, oh, I can't have a drink tonight because I've got work tomorrow. So yeah, but it's only 6 o'clock. As long as you only have 4 or 5.
Definitely do that with dieting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Is it the same?
I think you've done it with drink as well.
I've definitely done it with drink. Yeah,
It's mad you say, because your addiction is just a drive. It hijacks your reward system and copies what your hunger drive and sex drive does.
Yeah.
So that conversation you're having about dieting, there's a part of you, your hunger drive's going, oh, I have the I don't know, cheeseburgers, whatever it is. It's like, no, I can't do that. And it's like, yeah, but it's only one. One's not going to make a difference. That exact system there that's happening, it happens exactly the same with addiction.
Yeah.
And it's just have one, as long as you're in bed by 2. Start early, finish early is a big one that everyone tells themselves.
Yeah.
Which doesn't happen.
Heard that before.
You finish, it's like, oh, it's only 10 o'clock in the morning, as long as I'm done by 6. And then it's only 6 o'clock. As long as I'm done by 8. It's only 8 o'clock. And it just goes fucking round and round and round, doesn't it? But that's it. Addiction is just a drive. And how you identify addictive voice is, if you make the decision that you want to stop. The people go into recovery for the simple fact they want to stop drinking and stop taking drugs. That's the sole purpose. Once you've made that decision and you say to yourself, I'm done. I took this really seriously. I was like, I'm done with this life. It's like, once you've made that decision, you shouldn't have any thoughts then that around drinking and taking drugs. Yeah. Because you've made the decision to stop. So therefore, that's not you.
It's easier said than done, though.
It's your addictive voice. Yeah. There's a whole system that, to beat it, there's a whole array of tools and things that you use. But that's the basis behind it. Listening out for this voice that's asking you to do something you don't want to do, which is drink. For me, well, take drugs.
Drink. What are the percentages on people that relapse? On
that system, I don't know.
Right.
It's completely different to any other, like I think they're called 12 steps and things like that.
Yeah.
AA, it's a completely different system because it's basically a choice. That's how you say it. We choose to drink. We choose to take drugs. It's a decision that we make.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I look forward to having a beer on a Friday. Yeah. I do. Gets to like 3 o'clock on a Friday. Oh, I might just nip for a quick pint. Yeah. And then you have 2, maybe 3.
Yeah. I think this is the thing, though. Is a lot of lads might not put themselves into a course like this, or reach out to someone like you. It's different to being. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's not your like typical. You're not an alcoholic typically. You're not doing it 7 days a week, and you're not going into work drunk, and you're not buying a bag every day. Yeah. So a lot of the time, people think I couldn't even do a course or go into rehab or take one of these because I'm not a typical alcoholic.
Yeah, I'm not an addict. That's what they'll say. So that's what my argument was. Well, I don't do it every day, so it's not an addiction.
Yeah.
But how I looked at it is, I looked at what results that I was getting from drinking and taking drugs. I looked and thought, is there any positives I'm getting from it? No. 20 years ago there was. Great night. Yeah. Brilliant. Like, honestly, it was great. But the position I got myself in, it's like, what am I actually getting from it? Am I having positive results? No, I'm getting negative results. Is it affecting my personal life? Yes. Is it affecting my work life? Yes. Is it affecting my mental health? Yes. Is it affecting my physical state? Yes. I'm tired, I'm worn out, I look a mess, I was skinny. Is it having an effect on me as a person? Yes. Is it having an effect on my relationship? Yes. Is it affecting my moods? Is it affecting the person that I am? Yes. Is it affecting my effort, my means of work, controlling my work? Yes. It was yes to every single question. And you've got to look at it like that. If someone asks themselves that question and it's yes, it's like, well, why do it? It's got to be an addiction. because the biggest thing is if you keep doing it when you're trying not to. That's what I always say.
Yeah.
If you're trying not to do something, then you keep doing it. Then that's where your addiction is coming in.
Yeah.
Like there'll be times like for you maybe you could say, I've got work tomorrow, so I'm not going to have a drink.
Yeah.
But like on a Friday.
Yeah. No, I often do. If I'm working Saturday, I'll tell myself that I'm not going to, and then I might have a pint or two.
Yeah.
If someone calls me, I'm just not going for a pint. Yeah, I'll go and have one.
Yeah. And that's it. You could go to the pub, have 1 or 2 pints, go home, call it a night.
Yeah.
I would go to the pub. To be honest, I didn't really go to pubs, but 1 pint, 2 pint, then it's get back.
Yeah, right.
And then it's, well, the bag's run out, let's get another bag. Then everything, the work's out the window then.
Yeah.
Don't care about work at the time. Don't get me wrong, I would turn up to work in a complete mess. I'd just be there. I wouldn't work, I wouldn't be present. My body'd just be there, and you just want to go home, don't you?
You're just wishing the day away. And I'm not sat at work going, fuck me, I wish this was longer. I wish I could do a 12-hour shift today instead. But you're not. All you want to do is get to bed. Yeah. You're going, fuck, when I get home, I'm going to get home, get to bed. And you never do. But that's all you want to do. Yeah. Get rid of today. Innit?
Get to bed, order a takeaway. Order a takeaway and get to bed.
Yeah.
And then you find you order a takeaway and you order like enough for 3 people. 1 bite and you're full. Because the cocaine shrinks your stomach.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe I should start doing it then.
Yeah, but the effects of cocaine, it starts shrinking your stomach. Everything starts to coming into play. That's why people can't eat on it. It starts shrinking your stomach. So your stomach's really, really small. And you eat the next day and it stretches. You can actually feel this happening in your belly. It's stretching. You start to get hot and sweaty.
Is that why people don't like eating when they're on it?
Yeah.
Because it actually shrinks your stomach.
It shrinks you.
Is that right?
I always wondered if it was a chemical reaction as well. You know, like how weed will make you hungrier. Because is it ghrelin? It's ghrelin, isn't it? The chemical in your brain for hunger. Have you?
Oh, is that the thing that Ozempic tries to quash?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've always wondered if cocaine was the opposite, and it
played with that.
Yeah, because people just don't eat. Say kebab shops are probably taking a hit.
Actually full on shrinks your stomach.
Yeah, it shrinks your stomach.
Right.
Cocaine shrinks your stomach. Your bowels start moving. So I was actually researching into this as to why cocaine makes you shit.
All right.
But I've not actually found the answer to this. But apparently it's not the cocaine. It's nothing to do with the cocaine. It's what they put in it. But isn't it mad when you make the decision? I don't know if you know about this, but you make the decision that you're getting on it, you will instantly need a shit or to go to the toilet because you've made that decision.
I know. I have seen that on some people. I'll say no names.
Never noticed it.
Yeah, it does. So if you think the physiology in your body starts changing at the mere thought of using cocaine, so your whole body system starts to change.
Really?
Your stomach starts shrinking, bowels start moving. Yeah,
just at the thought of it?
The decision to have it.
Right.
You'll find, you order a bag, it's not even here yet.
Yeah.
You may have only just send a text message, but all the bowels and your bowels start moving, your body starts preparing itself for this drug.
Really?
It can happen with drink as well.
Yeah.
If some people, when they drink and they won't eat.
I hardly eat,
Yeah, I don't really eat when I drink. No. I eat when I get home to try and curb a hangover.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there must be a certain amount of, say, adrenaline or dopamine gets released before you're getting on anything as well, isn't it?
When the anticipation of it. Yeah.
If I know we're having
reward.
If I know we're doing a podcast or like having a house party and I'm driving home from work, I am getting fired up. Yeah. That feeling's almost better than when you start drinking.
That's it. Yeah. That's your anticipation for the reward. It's dopamine spiking in your brain. So it's like a balloon blowing up.
Yeah.
So when you're thinking about it, you're like, I can't wait till this day comes here. And then you actually do the behaviour.
Yeah.
It's like popping the balloon, and that's the dopamine release. That's the whole system, actually, of how addiction works. Cue, craving, response, reward. So a cue will set off. Let's talk about your hunger drive. If we started talking about
crisps.
I
fucking love crisps.
Domino's pizza or something like that. If you think of Domino's pizza, you could be sat at home. Domino's pizza comes on the TV. You look. Your hunger drive, your reward system starts to go, oh, fuck me, pizza. Then next thing you know, off the mere thought of that, the seeing it, you start having a thought process of pizza, your favourite pizza, the garlic and herb dip. You start seeing it in your brain, you start mesmerising it, tasting it, smelling it. At this point, you've not even decided that you're going to eat it yet. But as that's happening, dopamine is starting to form in your brain. This is called the anticipation for this reward. Then you respond. You go, hey, should we get pizza? You order it. Then what's happened is you've responded to that cue in your reward system. Your hunger drive seeing Domino's pizza that's set off on the TV, or it could be on the advert, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You've seen it. You start creating a craving for it via mental images and memories and stuff, because you can sort of almost taste it, can't you? You're like, oh, fucking hell. I'm boring me, I like cheese and tomato, but you're just like, oh. And then you make that decision, I'm ordering a Domino's. So what's happened in your brain? You've responded to that cue. Then what's it like when you're waiting for it? You're like, oh,
Can't fucking wait.
Like, check that app, how long will it fucking be? Oh, Jesus. And you do it, and as you're waiting for it, you're like, I can't wait till this Domino gets here, fucking hell. Doorbell rings, you jump up, you get your Domino's, you set it all out, and you're like, oh, there's your dopamine release. That's your reward.
Then you sit on the sofa afterwards, oh, fucking why do I eat so much?
Guilt.
Yeah.
Guilt sets in.
That's basically a whole habit system.
Yeah.
Because that takes place. So can you relate to what I'm saying now?
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely, yeah.
Exactly the same thing takes place with alcohol and cocaine.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've received these text messages, but the exact example of that would be, my example would be powering, or I'm about, or I'm on.
Oh, yeah,
that
yeah.
text message
Yeah.
that the drug dealers send out to people on a Friday night, 100 odd people in the contact list. That's exactly the same thing. That
was a cue.
There's your cue. There's your Domino's that you've just seen on TV, but you haven't seen Domino's. You've seen a message from a drug dealer saying cocaine. Exactly the same process takes place, where in the Domino's analogy, we'd start thinking about the taste and the smells and the cheese melting and the garlic and herb dip. In this case, you'd be thinking about the taste of cocaine, the smell of cocaine, the feeling once it drops in the back of your throat, the tightening of your stomach, the euphoria in your brain. You start thinking about that, and you've now started creating a craving for cocaine.
Yeah.
And then what do? You respond just like you did with your Domino's. Like, hey, should we get Domino's? It's
about.
Yeah. Should we get a bag? Then what's it like when you're waiting for your bag? Exactly the same as the Domino's. Like, where the fuck's he calling back? He says 10 minutes. You're like 3 minutes. Fucking ring him. Can you drive fast?
World's worst drug dealer.
Yeah. knock on the door or ring bells, whatever it is. You run out. You get your bag. Just like you would your Domino's, you come back in. Oh, I can't wait for this. It's exactly the same process. You can't wait for this. Of course, you eat your Domino's, but you create your line. You sniff your line. Bang! There's your dopamine release. It's exactly the same system, but because drugs, the dopamine release you get from drugs outweighs Domino's. So much. The bigger the dopamine release, the more intense the craving, the more intense the reward. It's exactly the same system. It mimics your hunger drive. Same works with your sex drive. We don't need to go into that, but you know what I mean, don't you? Mrs. gets out the bath. There's a cue.
Yeah, shit, yeah.
Craving. Yeah. If you're lucky, you get your response and you get your reward.
Yeah.
Exactly the same thing. And all's addiction is a carbon copy of those two drives.
Yeah.
It's a drive that develops in your brain, and it works through exactly the same system: cue, craving, response, reward. So that's why
very Animal Kingdom, innit?
Yeah, it is. So, like, for instance, you walk past. You could be on your way home, not thinking about drinking, not thinking about taking drugs. You drive past someone that you've got absolutely smashed with on a regular basis. You're like, hey mate, how you doing? You all right? There's your cue.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, you're driving home, thinking about all those times. Dopamine starts to create in your brain. There's your craving. And then it's at that point there, the craving, you haven't actually made the decision yet to do it. It's you thought about it so much and you're engaging with it so much, your dopamine starting to build so high. You then respond. in the AVRT, they call it a deal. You take a deal. You responded to that cue, then you get your reward. That's basically how it all works, and that's why people find it so hard to stop, because they engage with the thoughts of doing it so much. They're creating a craving in the brain.
So how do you work on that to try and get them to help them to stop?
So to stop that, you've got to create a big, I call them the whys. You've got to have a big reason why you want to stop.
To stop it, yeah.
To stop. So it's basically all the stuff we were talking about before, with my son.
Yeah.
I've written all that down. But I also I created whys that, why you want to stop, how does it make you feel, all the bad things that happen, but also why do I want to stop, because what effects it going to have in the future. That's what I was talking about before with my son, how it's going to affect his life. So I've got that as well. So you create this whole big, huge reason why you shouldn't. Then when you notice a cue, like let's say your drug dealer does text you, rather than thinking about the good times, the tastes, the smells, the feelings of cocaine, start thinking about the bad times. Start thinking about the why. Start thinking of, if I do this, imagine my son's life. If I do this, am I going to be in bed
So
tomorrow?
negative reinforcement.
Negative, yeah.
Yeah.
And by doing that, it shuts down the stage 2. Stage 1's your cue. Stage 2 is the engagement, the craving. If you shut down the craving, you're not going to respond. If you don't respond, you're not going to get your reward. So by shutting it down at stage 1, by thinking about the real bad stuff and reading about them and really looking at your life, and a bit like what I was talking about before. When we was talking about it, sounded horrible, wasn't it? What I actually used to do. I was thinking, well, even with myself, when I was sat here saying it, I was thinking, fuck. It does. It sounds awful.
It's even worse because you can hear yourself in your own ears.
Saying it. But because if I start thinking about that, those drugs aren't going to look so tasty now.
No, they fuck.
They're not going to smell like a good Domino's pizza.
No.
They're just going to look bad and look horrible. So by doing that, you stop that craving. So you stop dopamine building up in your brain. If you stop dopamine building up in your brain, then you're not going to get the anticipation for using that drug.
Yeah.
And this, you just repeat that and repeat that and repeat that. There's a load more to
I'm
it.
sure
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But that's basically a sort of small breakdown of how you do it.
So you started this course yourself that you're doing?
So I run one myself now.
Yeah.
So
is it the same course as you were doing, or is it?
it's similar.
Right.
It's based off the same theories.
Yeah.
Rational recovery and addictive voice, but I've put my own sort of spin on it. My own things that I've noticed through recovery. So once I got into recovery, 3 months in, I knew I was changing my career after I leave, because I watched people crying joy, men, women, older women, older men, all ages. I watched them start regaining their life, start talking to the kids again, start rebuilding marriages, just watching people excel in life through stopping and drinking and taking drugs. And I was looking at that and I was thinking, wow, it's really powerful stuff when you sat in these meetings and you're seeing this happen. It brings tears.
Yeah.
It really does bring tears to your eyes.
Oh, I bet.
I was having a conversation with one of my coaches the other day, and she was talking about a bad time, and I had to hold back the tears in my eyes. But I was watching this, and I thought I could do something like this for the rest of my life. I thought this was purpose in this. There was something, there's meaning to doing this. So at 3 months, I knew that's it. When I leave recovery, I'm going to become a life coach or a mind coach, because there was a guy in the recovery named Wally who was a mind coach, and he looked at how your brain works, why you might think a negative way, or what belief you're attaching to something that makes you angry. That fascinated me, that type of stuff. So I beat the addiction. Then I set out studying on neuroscience, life coaching, mind coaching, neuro-linguistic programming. I really dug deep into, because I wanted to find out how your brain works.
How and why.
I knew how to beat the addiction, but for me, there were other things that needed addressing. So my biggest thing was confidence. I'd stopped my addiction. I don't drink and take drugs anymore, but I use drink and drugs for confidence.
Yeah.
So now, I'm now a person that doesn't drink and take drugs with low confidence. So I had to figure out, okay, well, how do I fix this? So I started looking to how you...
It takes some fairly good self-awareness to be able to figure that out.
Yeah. And I studied, and I added a lot of my own sort of stuff into my program. So I don't just work on addiction. I will work on confidence. I will work on self-belief. I will work on anger management, because a lot of the time, if you spend 20 years drinking and taking drugs, you will have a whole mindset that attaches emotion to situations, and you'll get angry about stuff because you're low. You've got no energy. You're in low mood all of the time. So you'll create a mindset, quite an angry mindset of ways to deal with situations. Because when you do drink and take drugs and you've got a high addiction to it, any problem you've got in life, the answer is to drink and take drugs. It does a bad day, a good day, it's raining, work's been cancelled, work's been good, you made a lot of money, anything, you drink and take drugs. So if you've spent so many years doing that, your coping mechanism is to drink and take drugs, but then you stop. You stop drinking, you stop taking drugs. But life has its challenges, life has problems, so you've got to come up with new ways of dealing with stresses in your life. Now, the natural human response is to get angry. That's your the natural response. If you can't...
Rather than doing the drink and the drugs.
Yeah, because if you can't manage the emotion, you'll just get angry. So I found that a lot within me. It's like, I've got a problem here. I'm getting frustrated and angry. It's like, okay, I need new ways of dealing with things. And that's where I started looking into mind coaching and stuff like that. And then looking at that and working on myself for at least, I think, 7 months of building my confidence, managing my own emotions, setting goals and achieving them and stuff like that. I thought, okay, well, I'm now the finished product. I know how to beat addiction, and I know how to change your life. And I'm in a really good position. So I added that into the recovery as well. So entwined it.
Bit of confidence as well there, isn't there?
Confidence.
Start believing in yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, to set up my own recovery service, the confidence, like, if you asked me to sit, I wouldn't be sat here. If I didn't do the recovery enough, I wouldn't be sat here now. Not a chance in this world. So no, fuck off. I wouldn't sit in a room full of people talking about feelings. No way. But via doing that through recovery and experiencing that and experiencing the power of that, I then had confidence to do that. But I had to work up the confidence. I'd be part of a group and there'd be people facilitating that group, but I had to be the one that everyone sat there looking at. And my first session, Jesus Christ, there's no way to get yourself ready confidence-wise. You can build on, build yourself up to it. But the only way to get confident in something is do it.
Yep.
It's the only way. You've just got to do it. Like podcasts. My first podcast, I was just like, because I've done one now.
Yeah, you know what it's about.
I can do another. So you have to. Well, you can't get yourself ready.
And this is something that's really easy. When you have to do something that's hard, it takes ages to learn. Getting your confidence in something takes fucking ages, doesn't it?
So my first session, I was never one for following a script. I like to work off just a cuff.
Seat of your pants.
Yeah, I think I don't know if it's because I spent my whole life doing that. I don't know, but I was like, right, how I got myself accountable for my own group is I set a date and I released that date into the public. I had no fucking idea how I was going to do it at the time. I didn't. I just had a date. So I said, right, I think it was the first week of November, I am starting my own recovery service. And I put that out there. So people knew now. People started talking about it. I'm like, shit. Now I need to do this. So that held me accountable. And I got the website, got a website done, opened a business, got business accounts, all the nitty gritty stuff. Then it come closer to the date of starting. Then I'm like, right, I can do this. I know I can do it because I've done it. So I know I can use my own experiences to help someone that's struggling with drinking drugs because I've been there. I've done it. I've been there, done it, got the t-shirt, and I'm out of it. And then I've also worked on myself as well. That was a big thing. I had to work on me as a person. So I knew how to help them, but I didn't technically have it in a sequence. It was just in my head. Then it got closer and closer to the day, and I thought, fuck, shit, what am I going to do? So I remember I used my dad's computer and I started writing down how I'm going to do my first session. I'm like, right, I'm going to say this, I'm going to say that, I'm going to say this. And first session started and I got my paper. It was about that thick, by the way. It was fucking huge. And I was like, right, I was so nervous. Honest to God, I could hear it in my own voice. I don't know if people could see it, but I could hear it in my own voice, and your face getting red and stuff like that. So everyone sat down and I was looking at my paper and I sort of wrote out a script to follow. Now, I've learnt now I can't follow a script, so I don't do it anymore. But I started talking and I was reading a script and I was looking at the clients and I was going, and I just froze for a little bit. I was like, right, okay, we're going to learn about the science behind addiction. So I use a whiteboard, you see, in my recovery. The one I went to, it just sit and talk, but I like to put stuff out on a board and draw things. So I got up and I turned around. I was facing the whiteboard and I was going, fuck, what am I doing? And then my face went red at this point. So they couldn't see me, obviously. So I was like, and I remember trying to draw a picture of the brain on it, and my hands were shaking, which added to my brain drawing, actually made it better. So I was quite happy about that. I was like, all right, drawing it around. And then I said, okay, this is how your brain works. These are your parts of your brain. This is your limbic system. This is your prefrontal cortex. I had it all written down, and I was copying off there, and everyone was copying and really getting into it. So at that point, I was like, oh, okay, this is going well. Then I turned around and sat down. And what I needed to do next was at the bottom of the paper, but because I was nervous, I flicked the paper over. So I was a page ahead of where I was supposed to be. And I was like, oh, fuck. But I didn't want to flick it back because in my head I was going, if I flick that back now, I'm going to look like I don't know what I'm doing. So I was like, and I remember there was only 3 people there when I first started. They was all sat there and they was looking at me like this. And I was looking at them. I had my paper in my hand that I'd already flipped over. And I was like, fuck. I can't remember what I was supposed to do next. And I started getting really nervous. And then in the end, I just stopped. I remember looking up and I just took a deep breath. And I just went, and I put the paper down. I just put it on the table. I said, right, do you want to stop drinking and taking drugs? And he said, yes. I said, okay, this is how you do it. And then it just flowed from there. Yeah. Honestly, it was just, I just started talking about what I know, how I did it, what to look out for, how your brain works, the science behind your brain, the cue craving response reward. I just went through the whole lot. It was brilliant, fucking really good. And at the end of it, everyone was just like, wow, I get it now. And it was amazing to see. The first client, I still keep in touch with him now, daily, to be honest. Yeah, he'd be nice. 18, 19 months. Really good client. I remember the first session. He was probably as nervous as me.
Yeah.
I remember
you would be, wouldn't you?
He walked in. He goes, "Do I have to stand up and talk?" I was like, "Yeah." He went, "Oh, you didn't." I was like, "I'm only joking. You don't." But I do my recovery quite different. I don't sit in a circle. I didn't want that sitting in a circle.
The AA thing.
Yeah, I didn't want it so intense. I wanted it to be like a course, like you're learning. Because that's what I found worked for me, especially when I was coaching. It's about learning and having that visualization on the board as well. Because you could sit, some people learn in different ways. Some people, I can't remember, it's kinetic, visual, audio or something. Or basically.
Neither of us have learned that much. So.
Some people learn from just listening. Some people learn from copying and doing.
Yeah.
And some people learn from
doing.
So anything
like writing it out.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. So I thought I'd put a whiteboard into my sessions because I noticed as well when I was speaking to people, I was explaining something, and they sort of they're like, yeah, and I can see in the face like I sort of get what you're doing. I'd go, think of it like this, and I draw it. As I'm explaining, I draw. Like imagine you're here and you've got to look at this. This is your timeline, this is 20 years. And they're like, oh, I get it now. So I found that worked a lot more. And I've always carried a whiteboard into my sessions as well. I've got a right big whiteboard. Do you want to see it? It's massive. It's huge. Like, it's great.
Steady on.
Yeah. But yeah, it was
Brilliant.
It was so life changing for me.
And you've been at this. So you're 18 months in now to running your own course. Did you say?
Running my own recovery
yeah.
service.
And
Yeah.
you're having people coming through. Is this your full-time job now?
Full-time job.
Yeah.
Well,
Brilliant.
actually, having said that, when I was fitting kitchens and I hated it, and I probably created my own hatred for it because I knew I wanted to get out of it.
It's also a really shit job.
Yeah, it is. It's horrible. The stress and the...
Nothing's ever right.
No, nothing's plumb.
No.
Nothing's square.
It's always
Nothing's
your
level.
fault.
Yeah, it's horrible. But I used the same system to start my recovery service. I picked a date that I want to be out of kitchen fitting by April, which was the end of the tax year. I picked a date. I didn't broadcast it, but I had this date set in my head. This was before I set up my recovery service. I said, by the end of next tax year, I want to be out of kitchen fitting. I had no clue how, when, why. I just knew that's what I want. And then off my first video that I put up on Facebook, I was saying before the night, the first video I actually filmed on my Facebook, the first ever one, because I was so nervous and didn't have the confidence. I was filming a video, pausing, stopping, deleting. I was sat there for at least an hour. I was like, oh, and then I managed to hold what I was saying and film this video. It was 15 minutes long, and I couldn't post it on Facebook. It was too big, so I had to do it again. I was like, but what was I? So I set up picked a date, and I set up the video. I sent out my first video, and I've got a friend who's a mutual friend of someone else. This girl called Sarah. She's seen my video out on Facebook, and she contacted me, and she said, I really like what you're doing, and well done for putting that out there. You know, it takes courage, it takes balls basically to put a video like that up. She'd worked in recovery, and she'd done a lot of work with schools. She worked in schools with teenagers and things like that. So she said to me, why don't we meet up? I was like, okay, fine, meet up. We met up, and we had no basis for this meeting. I didn't go there with wanting something. I just went to go and talk, and we had a good chat for about 2 hours. And we finished the chat. I told her about what I was doing and what my vision was. She told me what she was doing, and then we had a good chat. And then we left it at that. And I remember when I was training myself up, I'd done this training with Tony Robbins, and he always said, always make the second meeting. If you meet someone, make that second meeting, book it in the diary. It doesn't matter what you're going to talk about. You don't even need to know what the meeting's for. He said, book it in, because you might miss an opportunity. That was playing in my head for about 2 days. I'd left, I had this meeting with Sarah and left, and we texted a few times. That was playing in my head. I was thinking, I need to text her. I said, well, I tell you what, why don't we meet up again? She texted back. I said, sure. And then we did. We set a date. We met, and she brought a business partner at the time along with her, and we chatted and talked, and then we decided that we'll run a program together, a recovery program out of a place called Cafe 71 in Chester. So we set that up. We met and we ran that program, and it was a good program. She seen how I worked, I seen how she worked, and we hit it off from there. And then I think it was about 2 weeks after that program, she called me up and she said, I've got a little business proposition for you. How would you like to come over and work with me and join the business? I was like, yeah, because she worked in high schools, and one of my biggest things that I wanted to do was, a lot of the people in my recovery now were late 30s, early 40s. They've realised now, I've wasted 10, 15 years of my life. Yeah. I want to stop. But then I thought, what if I can stop that happening at a very young age? And spread that awareness to teenagers that be careful.
That's
addiction.
a much harder job.
Yeah,
I can
It's
imagine.
a good angle. That I've never thought of that angle. I've never heard of it.
It is difficult, but she said, "Do you want to join?" I said, "Yeah, of course I do," because I knew as well I can leave kitchen fitting now. And then, funny enough, 1st of April, I left my kitchen fitting job.
Awesome.
On the 1st of April, the start of the new tax year.
Brilliant.
Shit, yeah.
That very same day, I drove to my mum's house. I emptied all my tools into a garage and then started up with this new business partner. So that's called Inspiring in Your Future. That's an intervention service. So we do a lot of work in high schools. We've got our own provision. We take kids that struggle in the school setting or struggling with anything really, mental health issues, that they don't work in the school setting. We take them to the provision and we do mindset work with them and work on emotions, work on confidence, work on self-esteem, work on why you get angry, and basically do a course with them. Train them up to a new mindset, integrate them back into school, which is going really well, really well as well. But that's what I do as well.
So how far about do you get with that job?
Which one?
With in the schools? How far about do you get with it? Are you all over the country or just locally?
So at the moment we're local,
Right.
in Chester.
Yeah.
In the Chester area. So one of our biggest schools that we work with is Blake and High, but we're trying to branch out into other places.
Yeah.
What I want to do as well is really spread the awareness around addiction, because, like I was saying before, late 30s, early 40s, that are the people that come to me and they realise that cocaine shit, alcohol shit, I'm wasting my life, I'm living how I don't want to live like I was, and I try and help them out of it. But if you can stop that happening in the first place, it's hard, because I look at it, I was never a good student in school. I'd have been in that provision if there was about when I was in school, with the exact same attitude as I don't care, fuck it, weed for life. All that type of shit that they do. But I will be quite open when I talk about addiction. I will talk about the grimy stuff. I'll talk about the nitty gritty. I'll talk about the hard things. When I speak to anyone around addiction, I'll basically tell them exactly how it makes you feel. I'll tell you the awful things that you do. You know, especially using when you're looking after your own son. It's fucking horrible.
Yeah.
You
Because
know?
it's not even a conversation when you're 18, 19 originally. There's no one even bad-mouthing it. Like, this is fantastic. Let's have a laugh. There's no bad words put towards it, and they're not even linked to it.
No.
The past. So if you're putting it out,
You hear from your parents, drugs are bad, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, where's the evidence for that?
Yeah.
All my mates say it's mint.
And that's what it's sort of. There's that crossover point. There's people, and I always like to say this as well, because I know some of my videos can be quite fucking, direct and to the point. But there is people that can go out, drink and take drugs once a month and literally have a ball and a scream and a laugh. They're living life. There's, they're using drinking drugs what they're for, but then there's the underbelly of that world where it's every day or it's every week. It's just it's grimy, it's sketty, it's
That's an old word, sketty.
Sketty, yeah.
I've not heard that in a long time.
It's a perfect word though. For
Yeah, it is.
It really,
yeah.
It's hidden as well. So what you'll find, like, if you're lying about using, if you see your mates and you go, oh, what you got up to this weekend? Oh, nothing. I was just sat down, watched a few films and had 2 takeaways and that.
Yeah.
But you haven't. You spent the whole weekend getting off your barnet.
Yeah.
Like, why lie? That's where shame and guilt. You'd heard that before.
Yeah, because you've gone too far.
Yeah.
Because you're ashamed.
It's not right. It's not good for you.
That's a good way to recognise addiction as well, if you're lying about it.
Yes.
If you use rational recovery, rationally, it's wrong what you're doing. It's wrong that you fucking sat in your house all day just sniffing cocaine, watching porn and fucking sitting in the dark, and that's horrible.
Yeah.
It is. But no one will talk about that. No one will come out and go, oh yeah, I got on it the other night and I sat there crying. No one will say that.
No.
They'll glorify it, and that's where it's hard in society now, because everything is glorified. Drinking's glorified, drugs are glorified. It looks great, but there is that underbelly of
Well, there was a bit of a I don't know what you'd even call it, a fad or a meme on Instagram for a while, a couple of years back, where everything was just about doing cocaine.
Yeah.
I remember thinking to myself, this is pretty fucked that people are pushing it so hard.
Yeah.
And there's still a bit at TikTok now. I mean, there's still a fair bit of stuff like that.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You would probably.
I see quite a lot of videos because of the content that I watch.
you will.
What I am seeing is loads of people in recovery, which is great.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because of my algorithms, but there's so many people that are realising now there is a better life than drinking and taking drugs. But then because of that, I see videos of people sniffing cocaine and having laughs and all that type of stuff. So it's glorified a lot in through social media.
Like you say though, the conversations that the content you're putting out, there's a few people doing it, and it's just brilliant. TikTok is perfect for it.
Yeah.
Because someone might not go when it was like an AA meeting. Someone wouldn't go. It's a business. It's not a personal thing. But you can put out there. You do your videos, and someone might really connect with you.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll connect with maybe there's a woman doing a similar thing, and maybe they'll feel like more comfortable with them. But you can get your face on there, and certain lads will just feel connected to you and go, "He's the guy."
I get a lot of comments saying, "Oh my God, what you've just said is word for word what I do."
Yeah.
But now, because at the end of this month, I've got an online program. So where my recovery service was in Chester and it was face to face, I thought, okay, the TikTok sort of reach outs were getting so much. I was like, I need a way to help. So I thought, I can do what I'm doing, but I can do it online. I built a whole course of things and to do with this online program, but I'm actually created an online one now, which starts at the end of this month, and that's what I want to get out onto TikTok now, and say, okay, here it is. I can help. Join it, see what you think.
Brilliant.
Some of your videos are beginning to get serious views now, don't they?
Yeah,
I had a quick squiz through all your TikToks this afternoon. I was like, holy shit!
Yeah.
So my first videos I started putting up, they were too long. I know my videos are quite long anyway, but I was just putting too much information in, and a lot of what my views were, I was screenshotting like things to do with drinking drugs, like sober lands and stuff like that, and I was reposting them, and it was getting quite a lot of views. And then one day I decided, I think my highest video was the pointless bag, I think I called it.
Yeah.
The pointless bag one, and I put that up, and next thing it was like 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. I was like, fuck me. Fourth, and it got up to 163,000 views. I was like, wow.
Mental, isn't it?
It's crazy that. And so I thought, okay, what is it why that video? What is it about that? And after watching it, it's like the relatability of what I was saying.
Yeah.
So people looking at that and going, I literally do that word for word. So I started thinking, what else weird shit did I do? And start filming it and putting it out on TikTok, because that's where the relatability comes in. I mean, there's loads I've got in here that, make my fucking toes curl like, but I'm putting them out there. Come on, mate. It's going on there. I mean, I'm not.
Fair play for being honest, right, and just sharing it. And I could think of so many. I don't know that many people, and I can think of so many people who are thinking either similar or have been through similar, or all wanting to just be better. Maybe not even necessarily. Not everyone wants to get completely sober, but they know for a fact they want to wake up on a Sunday and go for a family walk, or whatever the hobby is that they're not doing, because it's rife. Basically, every 30-odd-year-old in England that isn't sober is probably wanting to achieve some level of it. Yeah, it's very hard to control it, isn't it? It's very hard to say, I'm just going to drink a few. There's very few people can do that, really. We're getting pretty good at it somehow, because we practice every week just having a couple, because we do the podcast. And
I am a lot better at only having 2 or 3.
Yeah, because this
weekend gone is not evidence of that. But
no, you lost control. Yeah, you had a few on Friday, didn't you? But we are getting together. We've been doing this podcast for 14, 15 months. Yeah. Every single week, we sit down at the table. We have 2 beers, or 3 or whatever. But we get that little buzz off the beers, and we have a catch up with our mates, and it's a complete conversation and it's brilliant. And then that has gone. So when I get to the weekend, I've had my fun of this podcast. Now it's hard though to do that every week.
Just recently though, this last like few months, I found myself not having as many beers with the podcast.
Yeah, no, we haven't yet.
It's weird, like slowly just tapering off.
If you think about it, because you're having great conversations, so the dopamine's already there.
Yeah,
you don't really need the alcohol. I'm not saying that you rely on alcohol, but it's the fun is in the conversations that you're having and doing the podcast, something you enjoy.
But it's not very often that in your normal life that you sit down and talk for 2 or 3 hours. It's fucking weird.
Yeah. It is. Yeah, it is.
You really do get to know people.
You do. Talking's for me.
I feel like I've known you 6 months already. It's only been an hour and a half.
Talking, like, for me is massive. Like, I wouldn't talk back in addiction. I wouldn't talk to anybody. I just bottle it all up. But when you do sit in a room and start talking to people, it sort of opens up this. I don't know, it's like a trust thing, isn't it? It's like I can relate to you. I can,
and
feel.
There's a lot.
Well, you learn who someone is pretty quickly. You know, you're not just having like a 2-minute conversation. You never actually know whether you know someone when you're only having a 2-minute conversation. Yeah. You sit down and talk for an hour and a half, you fairly know who someone is. Yeah. You know whether they're an arsehole or they're going to rob you or,
Yeah.
So much therapy to it. And no one has to do a podcast either. It's this. Some of the now I've turned to, we do every now and then meet up with the boys for a dog walk. We've all got a dog, go on the hill. And when I get home at like 10 a.m, because we met at 7, I feel brilliant. I know what all of my mates have been up to for the last couple of weeks. I remember it for a start because we didn't have the conversation at 2 a.m. And the reward to it is so fucking good. Of catching up, you need to catch up with your mates, especially lads. Obviously, majority of lads are going to listen to this, and hopefully some girls do, but majority is going to be lads. They all just want to catch up with their mates, And when you do that, it's just so hard. If you meet up at 2 o'clock, you can have a couple. It's tough, but if you can make yourself catch up with your mates properly, and you remember, and you have so much better conversations as well.
Yeah, especially if you're doing such things as a dog walk. Because you can get real then, and you can really talk and connect. I say you can connect, but like meeting up. Let's say you go to the pub. There becomes a certain level of how lads want to act. I want to be. I want to make the best jokes. I want to be the funniest one. I want to, and so ego comes into that. I want to be. Not saying there's nothing wrong with that. A group of lads going to the pub, having a few pints, having a laugh. Brilliant. That's brilliant.
One of the few joys in life.
But if you think of the environment and the conversations and the programming in your brain. Is okay, we're in a pub, this is how we laugh, we joke, we make fun of each other, we have fun and all that type of stuff. So that's how the night will pan out. But no one's going to be trying to make fun of each other when you're walking your dog. So, and in your brain, that's not something that you do. So that's where you find you'll have those more connected conversations, and you start to
Unless you bring 3 into the mix, then you still bully each other. But it's
obviously that's saying 3 men can't be trusted to not bully each other.
It's just better, and that's. I think basically 30 plus. There's loads of things you start wanting to do in your life, isn't there? Yeah. And there's just. I bet it'd be terrifying to know the figures of how many. If everyone in the country, say, watched this one podcast.
Well, if they were actually just honest and said how many people were actually feeling that way. Yeah. But I bet it'd be a frightening number, a frightening percentage.
I felt like I stood still in life for 10 years.
Yeah.
That's what I felt like. I missed out on so much opportunity because what I was filling, any of my disposable time was filling with drinking drugs. Yeah. And that would have that knock-on effect into the week. I didn't have no goals. I didn't have no ambition. Like I was saying before, my only goal was to get wrecked. So when I actually stopped and started living my life and setting goals and achieving them, and like even doing something so much as completing a diploma, a life coaching diploma, I'd never done that. But I'd done it in such a short amount of time. I was like, wow, I've achieved something. I sort of got a taste for that then, achieving. But for those 10 years, I mean, don't get me wrong. If you looked at my life from the outside, it seemed great. Car, business, holidays, any average, normal life. Went out for meals and all that type of stuff. From the outside, it looked great. But I was, on the inside, I was dying. Like,
Yeah.
not dying, but I was so lost. Just suffering, all the time.
Unsatisfied, and
Yeah.
because you're not getting satisfaction out of feeling like that, are you? It's
And I felt like I was
fulfillment.
going nowhere. I felt like that for a long time. Like, where am I going in life? And this would come in Monday, Tuesday. After your bender, you're just like, where am I going with my life? What am I actually achieving? Which, in a sense, was nothing. But I mean, it's been 3 years since I think it's 3 years and 2 months since I stopped, and I've achieved more in those 3 years that I did in 10. Easily achieved more, and changed so much as a person as well. How I deal with situations, how rational I can be. Like, back in the day, you're a hothead, aren't you? You're just like, I'm fucking going off your head. I mean, don't get me wrong, I have moods and emotions. We're only human, but the way to deal with stuff now, and everything for me is goal based, because I got that taste for achieving something. Because when I went into recovery, I said to myself, I'm not failing at this. I'm sick of failing. I failed my whole life. Well, I felt like a failure anyway in my mind. It's just I never actually followed through with anything I said. So when I went into recovery, I thought, I'm not failing. I am not fucking failing at this. And I didn't. So I had that sense of, I've achieved this. I've completed recovery and it's mine. I always hold this it's my recovery. Nobody can take this away from me. No one can come in and say to me, oh, well, it's because of me you got... No, it's because of me, because I sat through the hard times and the battles and the emotions and the crying. I did all that, and that was mine, so I achieved that. It's like, okay, what else can I achieve? I want my own service, I want to help other people. I achieved that. I wanted to leave my job and change, I achieved that. I wanted an online program. Well, I'm just about to achieve that. So what's next? It's like, I just want to...
So what is next?
I just want to achieve. I think for me is to get online and help as many people as I can. Brilliant. It's mad because if I could pick someone up and go, look, this is how you're going to feel. This is what you're going to see. This is the emotions that you're going to feel. This is how good your life's going to look, and this is how good your relationship's going to get. This is the person you're going to become. If I could do that, I would have thousands, millions of people stood sat here with me. But I can't. The only thing I can do is try and put relatable videos up like I do and get people to go, I feel that way. I want to change. Yeah. It's a hard field, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
So hard. If I had everybody that ever texts me for help, I'd have a lot of people. But from them texting me to actually getting them to follow through, to come and see me.
Do you know your conversion rate?
I remember when I set up a while ago, I think it was for every 8 reach outs, you get 2 that actually follow
that's
through.
pretty good.
It's gone up since then. It all changes.
Yeah, as you're reaching more people.
Sometimes I can, like, 1 week I can have 5 people reach out.
Right.
And then 5 people come and see me.
Yeah.
2 might go, I don't know. Because what I say in my recovery service, and I say this in the first meeting, is you've got to make this decision now that you want to stop. And it's not stopped till next year. It's not stopped till your missus stops going off your head at you. It's not stopped till your job's back on track. It's forever.
Yeah.
You want to see people's faces that, what?
Yeah.
It is forever. It has to be, because once you've had an addiction, you go back, you're just going to go carry on an addiction. You're just going to carry on ruining your life. That scares a lot of people. That never again part. It does.
Yeah. I can see it.
But I'd be lying to them if I didn't say that.
Yeah.
And I'd hate to say, oh, you can stop just for now. It's giving them a false sense of hope.
Yeah.
It does scare a lot of people. When you
It
say
is.
that.
There's times I consider it,
Giving up the beer.
Giving it up. And it's all the little things, like, and I very rarely regret having a drink, because most of the time, some of my favourite nights, to say, like, me and Hannah will have a date night, and I never wake up with regret, because I have a fantastic night. And it's nights like that, we're sitting here till 3 o'clock in the morning. We'll chat shit and we'll usually make some stupid big life decision drunk, and we always follow through on it. I don't know how we've not dug ourselves into a ditch, but we have such a good night, and I wake up usually rough, but they're some of the best. I never have regret.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's quieter, but they're the sort of nights, the good ones. I'd happily give up the random ones. We end up in town and you go, why the fuck did I do that?
I hate it.
But there's certain things that does scare me to go, I don't know if I want to give that up yet. And there'll be some people like that, I would imagine.
Yeah.
You know, there's some fun stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's it. Like, on the odd occasion, if I look at my timeline, the last 3 or 4 years, it was solely by myself.
Yeah.
Or, well, my wife lived with me, so I'd have to, use when she was there. But it's solely I want to be by myself. If you went back a couple more years, there were the times when I'd go places and I'd have a laugh. I'd sit with lads and I'd joke, and I remember I'd been notorious for card tricks in the kitchens.
Yeah.
I'd say, if you've got any power, I'd turn people's houses upside down looking for a deck of cards. And once I'd even get a taxi home to get a deck of cards. I would get a deck of cards. I'd get a taxi home. And I'd
I've
come
never
back
heard of that. That's class.
with my cards. 3-4 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, right, watch these tricks or playings. And it's funny enough, I can't remember the tricks now.
Really?
I've done them for so long. I only done them when I was wired out my face in people's kitchens. Like, watch this, good tricks as well. I tried to do one the other day, and I was just like, yeah, I can't.
Fucking hell.
But they were somewhat good, doing the card tricks and stuff like that, and sitting and talking to people deep. That was somewhat enjoyable. But if you went back a couple more years, then it was going out into clubs, pubs, bars and whatnot for a few hours, then going back to people's kitchens, and that was taking place.
Yeah.
And then going back a few more years, it was staying out till 4 or 5 in the morning in clubs, then going back to people's kitchens or my own house, drinking, taking drugs. So in that timeline, there were fun, there were good things that were happening, but it just slowly starts decreasing to where I say where you're in trouble is when you're doing it but at home by yourself, and it doesn't have to be an event. So there's absolutely nothing going on in your life. There's no barbecue, there's no birthday, there's no nothing. You just simply on a Friday night you go, I'm gonna fuck a few lines tonight.
Yeah.
Then you get 2 bags or whatever, a few beers, and then when it runs out you go, fucking hell, I get some more. And it's like 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And then you switch your phone off, you hide in, you cancel your plans for whatever you've got to do that day. I'd say that's when you're in trouble. And if you went deeper into that, if people, the last 2 years, 3 years of my using, people had asked me, do I want to go, I don't know, go-karting or something on a Sunday? I'd be like, what Sunday is it? I can't that Sunday, I've got a thingy to do. Didn't.
Yeah.
But I knew that Saturday's my using night.
Yeah.
And I knew I wouldn't be going to those type of stuff. So that's where the planning comes into drinking and taking drugs. That's where it starts taking over. It will take over a sort of everything.
Yeah, you're avoiding plans, knowing that you're going to go and...
And also as well, what come into it was... There was a stage in my life where I would plan... Let's say I did have a plan on a Sunday to go to meet friends for... I'm just trying to pull something out of the area. I don't know. We was going to Manchester Christmas markets, and that's what we was doing on Sunday. I would then set out a plan. Okay, if I'm doing that on Sunday, I'll have to get wrecked on Thursday because...
Right, because you need 2 nights.
Yeah, because I need to recover. So that's where planning to get wrecked come into... This is what I was saying before, everything I did. So I'd be like, well, I've got to go there because I've said I'll go, and Mrs. wants to go. I don't want to be a dick and not go to that. So I can't get wrecked Friday because I need at least 2 days. So I'd be like, right, Thursday I've got to get wrecked. Then I'd be like, what am I doing Friday? I'll cancel that job. That's how much planning come into it. It was huge. Like, if someone listens to this and they're doing that, so they've got to relate and think, fucking hell. It's coming into...
I'm sure you'll...
Time to start thinking about it.
Time to start thinking about
I'm sure you will. I'm sure there's plenty of lads to hear it. Are you seeing? I think you said before. You seeing majoritively like between 30, 40 type.
Age-wise, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've got the majority are late 30s, early 40s. Some are 45, some nearly 50. That's the majority of my group. But what I am seeing is a lot of younger people coming, which is great for me. They probably find their recovery harder though, because they might be 22, 23, and I'm like, never drink and take drugs again. They're like,
fuck that.
what the fuck do you mean? But what's good in the groups as well is all these people that are older going, look, this is our experience, this is what we did.
It's what it turns into.
Yeah, and a lot of it, I get a lot of ketamine as well. Ketamine's a massive one. I'm seeing that a lot with the younger generation. But I do get some young ones coming into the group. I've still got some young ones now, but it's a lot more harder to convince them because they are so young. So I always say to them, I always say rock bottom. You don't have to hit rock bottom, because I hit rock bottom and carried on using. I actually split up. Well, I didn't split. I left my wife because my addiction convinced me that she's standing in my way. She'd stop me using. So my wife wouldn't just sit there and go on then, get another bag. She'd try and stop me. But I'd get those sneaky little ways of getting it posted and all that sort of stuff. Or I'd have extra down my sock and all that type of shit. But I would... my mindset at the time was, she's stopping me carrying on. It's making me... I'm not getting my fun. It's making me miserable. So I decided, okay, well, if my addiction's saying if I get rid of her, then I can use. I can do what I want. I can sniff as much cocaine as I want. I can spend Friday, Saturday, Sunday if I really want to, thinking that, okay, it's going to be great. I'm going to have a really good time. It got worse for me there, because at that point, my use went up and my drinking went up. So I got to a point where I was drinking every day. And because that barrier wasn't there anymore.
Self-sabotage.
It was like, I can have all this great fun. I didn't have 1 ounce of fun in my life. I spent most of the time staying through different people's houses and seeking out parties and stuff like that. And spent all my money, spent all my means of savings, anything that I had, lost my job, lost me business, turned into a recluse, just hid myself, and literally got to the point of, it's so low, so down, it's like, I remember spending 2 days contemplating, okay, I either take my own life or I try and face this huge mountain of problems that I've occurred over the next month. I pondered on this for about 2 days. I was like, which option do I take? Because
Jesus,
that's fucking
to be honest,
dark.
Taking your life seemed much easier, because I had to face shit that I'd done.
There's a reason why they call it the coward's way out, isn't there?
Putting my wife through no end.
She must be a saint.
Restrained, yeah. I put her through so much. It really, really hurt her. Really broke her heart. And at the time, I was like, I've got to try and fix this. And of course, we found out we was pregnant at the time. We didn't know, and that added to it. So I was like, I've got to try and face this now, or I take that coward's option. But of course, thankfully, I decided to stand up and face it. Now, you'd think that I had to go back and try and rebuild this life. She helped me as well. She helped me regain a job. She'd done so much. And it's mad, because everyone in my life at that time, everyone turned their back on me. Even my family, because they were sick of me, they were sick of my antics, they were sick of my shit. And I thought at the time my dad would never turn his back on me. I thought my dad would never. And my addiction was probably banking on that. My dad doesn't turn the back on me, at least I got something. But he texted me one day and he said, look, son, you're going to have to forget about me soon if this carries on.
Wow.
So even he turned his back on me. But the one person that never turned their back on me and got the worst of it all was my wife. I couldn't see it at this time. I can see that clearly now. I'm thinking, fucking hell. She was actually the only one that never did. And she got the worst of all my antics. Really dark place in my life where I went to see the doctor because I thought I was depressed. I knew I was depressed, I don't know. But I'd burst into tears at any given time. It could be any part of the day. And I had about 5 to 6 seconds before this was to happen. Now, I hid this at the time. So if it happened at home, I'd run upstairs, I'd lock the bathroom door, and I'd sit down the side of the bath and I'd hold a towel over my face so you couldn't hear me. So this kept happening. And one night, my wife, she heard me crying. So what's the matter with her? So I don't know. I just keep bursting into these tears. This was me trying to rebuild my life. So I went to the doctor. I think he diagnosed me with depression. Just give me a load of tablets, and I never took them in the end. I stupidly tried to use cocaine instead.
Smart.
Yeah, just like fucking tablets. I'll use cocaine, but that was probably the darkest, deepest part of my life where. I've been always strong-minded, a strong-minded person. Sounds ironic, doesn't it? Because I spent my whole life fucking it up with drugs. But the thoughts of contemplating suicide would be something that I would think that's not me.
Yeah,
that's not the person that it's something that I wouldn't. It just wasn't me until I put
until it was.
Until it was.
Yeah,
and
fuck,
that scared me. That I was like. Fucking hell. Like, imagine if it went the other way. Imagine if it got that, the struggle got so hard that I actually, did do that. But you'd think for me that was my rock bottom. You'd think, surely, if you're thinking about killing yourself, you've got to stop the drinking drugs. But I didn't. It took me another 1.5 years after that to actually reach out because I lost everything. I got it back, but that drinking and taking drugs came along with me. And 1.5 years after that, it was about to happen again. But this time, I wasn't the one leaving. My wife was going to leave, and she wasn't just going to leave with her. There was my boy as well, going with her. And at that point, it was like, I've really got to do something about this now. But reason for this whole story is that rock bottom, you don't have to hit that. Because I've hit rock bottom and it didn't stop me drinking and taking drugs. It didn't. So where people are, when people come in the younger ages, I go into this type of stuff. I'm like, okay, you're here, but there's only one way you're going.
Yeah, it doesn't go up, does it?
It doesn't go up. The mere fact that they're in a recovery means they're on that slope.
Yeah.
For people that can moderate and have fun with drinking drugs, don't get me wrong, there are people out there that can do that. There's loads, hundreds of thousands of people that can moderately drink.
Or they've convinced themselves that they are that person.
Yeah, and they'll spend the whole life having fun. But if you hit that slope, you're on it, and then the only way is down. So if someone's comes into a service, something bad has had to have happened for them to want to do that. But the age, I do get a few young ones. I've had some people as young as 17, 18 reach out to me.
Wow.
It's crazy, that, isn't it?
It is, really.
And a lot of it, what was mad for me with one client is I spoke about the paranoia and the conditioning of the brain, the tolerance building up so much that you have to have large amounts to try and feel it buzzed, and you get paranoid. He was already at that stage at 21.
Jesus, yeah.
Whereas I didn't hit that till 25, 26. So it's mad the effects that cocaine are having, on people.
Oh yeah,
It's a dangerous drug, isn't it?
yeah.
It's
Just, I mean, I wasn't fully aware how bad it got myself, actually, because I found that I've learned a lot tonight actually with that, because again, people don't talk about it much.
no.
Even just outside of cocaine, like other addictions.
Yeah.
You've
Absolutely.
opened my eyes to a few things.
Alcohol's a massive. I've got people on my group that are just alcohol. And I find actually mostly with the alcohol, that's an everyday thing. Whereas most of the people that take cocaine, it's not an everyday thing because it's not fucking sustainable, is it?
Yeah, fucking can't afford it.
Yeah.
But I was a once a week user, maybe sometimes in the week. I have people on the program that was once 3 times a week, twice a week. I had one guy on my program that was once every 3 weeks. But it was still enough for him to go, I'm sick of this life. And don't get me wrong, it was a big go, like, but it was once every 3 weeks. But what I find with the alcohol, alcohol becomes an everyday thing.
It's easy and it's cheap.
Yeah, and
So accessible.
Yeah.
and it's also it's not seen that bad.
Yeah, it doesn't have the perception that
Yeah.
cocaine. Someone you tell someone that you do cocaine, they'll look at you like,
Yeah. And if you said, "Oh yeah, I have cocaine every day," it'd be like, "What?" But if you said, "I have a couple of pints in the pub, I meet mates in the pub,"
all right.
yeah, it's just the way it's looked at. But alcohol is I'd say just as dangerous, especially for tiredness and mood swings. I suppose cocaine's the same as well. But yeah,
And so easy. We've spoke about it before on the podcast. If you treat yourself to a beer, say a Tuesday night, and then you have another Wednesday night, by Thursday, you even if it's just one, like chill out after work, and you haven't got any problems, and maybe you haven't drank for a week. Thursday, you're craving that beer after work. It is so quick with alcohol to get into that habit of 2 beers a night, or then a bottle of wine. It's so easy.
It's because it relaxes you as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need it to fall asleep.
Yeah. A couple of don't get me wrong, a couple of beers, someone could nice and relaxed now, call it a night. But that conditions in your brain, and that if you spend years doing that, you will become reliant on alcohol to relax. So if you spent a week with no drinking, you'd feel like you're up the wall. I can't fucking switch off.
Yeah.
I can't, because you haven't got the alcohol to relax, and that conditions then into your brain that where I was saying before is drink and drugs equal fun. It's alcohol equals relaxation, and then it comes into that habit. Then cue, craving, response, reward. So you get home from work and you feel like you can't relax. It's like, what can I do? I can have a couple of beers. You think about it.
Yeah.
Your reward is the relaxation. And also it is confidence. Alcohol's used for confidence. You might see people that will, if they turn up to somewhere stone cold sober, you'll see it in the body language, they'll be very tense. They'll speak. It's not like they're stuck there scared, but you'll see it. They'll talk, yeah, right, and then they're just going to go to the bar. And then they'll come back, and then you watch them as they're drinking, they'll start to relax more. And
Start talking
a lot more. So
quick as well. I've got I've got a person in my family, and I see it quick. Half pint, that's it, back to normal. Yeah. The confidence thing, in conversation.
It shuts down the part of the brain. It shuts down first is your prefrontal cortex. So that's responsible for consequences, decision making, intelligence. It's your inhibitions. So your inhibitions is that part of the brain that. It's like your mental blocker. It's like emotional blocker. Sorry. So, if you're in let's say with a group of people, new people, just sort of met, everyone's making jokes. Have you ever done that? Have you gone to go and you go, and you stop yourself because basically the emotional part of your brain's like, I know what's going to work here. It sends signals to your prefrontal cortex, but your inhibitions go. It goes to come out your mouth, but your inhibitions go, hold on, what if it's not funny? They don't laugh. You're going to look like a knobhead. Don't say that. You close off. Now, that would be just any normal, sober person. But alcohol takes away that inhibition.
Yeah, you just say it anyway.
So you'll say it anyway. And then don't care if they don't laugh. It doesn't matter. It makes no difference to you. So that's why alcohol comes in. At small doses, it will do that. But then once you take higher doses, you're losing control of consequences then. Your ability to recognise a consequence. So, like, if I drive, you had a couple of years, you think if I drive, I'll lose my licence. Can't do that because that's my job gone. My life's over. 10 beers, fuck the job. Because you lose that part of the brain that recognises the consequence that comes with that. And that's why people do stupid shit when they're really drunk.
Oh, God, yeah.
And become emotional as well, because your emotions are stored in your limbic system part of your brain. emotions come from your limbic system. Your prefrontal cortex is in charge of regulating those emotions and making sense of them. You haven't got that. You shut that down by drinking a lot of alcohol. Your emotions just run freely and wild. That's why people might start crying or get aggressive, get hungry. You know, people eat when they're drunk. It's because your hunger drive. It's just a free for all. Sex drive. So if you think about it,
It's got everything, haven't you?
when you see someone drunk, really drunk, they're just an emotional, hungry, horny prick. Because that's all that's going on in their brain is emotions and drives.
Yeah.
Because they've lost the inhibitions, that part of the brain that can make decisions. Like, I don't know, you might see people when they're drunk like jump off. I don't know, like run and jump over like walls and stuff.
Yeah.
Sober, you're not going to do that. No. But when they're drunk, you do those stupid things. It's all down to science.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's fascinating. You know, sometimes when I get really into it in my courses, you sit there for, if I could, 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
Just talking. But that's what worked for me. Once I could understand how your brain works and why you might cry because you've had a drink. It's like, why am I crying? Because you question yourself, like, what's wrong with me? But once you got understanding that because you're using alcohol, it's shutting down this and your emotions are happening. And it's basically like a car. A good analogy or a good way to look at it is if you've got a car, if my car breaks, I know it's broke. I haven't got a clue how to fix it. I just look at the engine. Men do that, don't they?
Yeah. It's fun.
Look at the engine, but I take my car to a mechanic, someone that understands how an engine works. He'll know the mechanics, the mechanisms, how everything works together. So he can go, right, okay, here's your problem. I'll fix it. There's your car back and how it works. It works exactly the same in your brain. Once you can understand how your brain works, how the mechanisms work, and how it all fits in together, then you can go, I know the problem now. I can see this is the issue. Then you can fix it. Yeah, it's just a good way of looking at it.
Otherwise you're just looking under the hood with no idea.
Otherwise you just like kick it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just hope it starts one day. It's knowing how your mind works. It was the biggest thing for me. Understanding addiction, understanding how it developed in my brain, understanding why I wouldn't stop, understanding why I got paranoid, understanding why I had delusional thoughts. I knew then it was because of the drugs, because of the amount of drugs that I was taking. And I knew that I'm already at that stage. I get paranoid, I get weird, I get edgy, I start sweating. I know there's no reverse to that. Once you're at that stage of when you're using cocaine, if you're getting like that, it is impossible to go back to having a laugh and having fun. Yeah. Scientifically, it won't happen. So, once I knew
you're already
that,
in the animal instincts.
Yeah, you're already there. And once I knew that, I was like, that added to my, that helped me a lot in my recovery because I'm like, well, I know I can't go back to that. I know I can't. So, what would be the point in carrying on? Yeah. But it's a good one for people to actually to hear as well, because there'll be people that are doing that. Loads of people.
Absolutely. And this. So some lads might listen to this, and maybe the thought of doing a face-to-face, when you're doing the physical course, and now you're releasing an online course.
I'm releasing an online one,
and that might suit them more. I'm assuming then they do that from home. Yeah. Basically, so they might not have to sit in a room with anybody else, because some people would hate that, even though it'd probably be good for them.
Yeah, some people do.
Yeah,
I've had people say to me, "I'm not doing a group." I was like, "I've only got a group.
Yeah,
I can't do one-to-ones because I've got my other intervention service that I do. In the daytime, I do my recoveries at nights. Yeah, some people I did say, okay, I'll do one-to-ones. I'll even come to you. I did this for a little while, but I found that I was going to work, and it just took over sort of everything. But I've had people say, I'm not going to do groups. End of.
Yeah.
And I said that I've only got groups, and they've just gone, fine, I don't want to do it. But I think with the online then, like, I know one...
Yeah, there's not that excuse there to not do it.
And it probably will give people more confidence to actually join. Because what I'm actually doing at the moment, so I'm reaching out to all the people that have ever contacted me from outer regions, and I've got a WhatsApp group going, and daily, me and my other coach, Robin, we're putting content into this group, just talking to people, supporting them. Then what we're going to do is tell our stories through a Zoom call, and then we're going to start someone off on... well, basically, I'm going to give people exactly the system. I'm just going to give it... I'm just going to say, this is how you do it through a Zoom call. So if I can get as many people as I can onto this WhatsApp group. At the moment, it's running. I'm just booking in calls with people, adding them into the WhatsApp group straight away after the call. There's video content on there to watch. There's me and Robin supporting people, daily. They are still very much in that sort of life. They've not... technically, they've not reached out just in the WhatsApp group. But what I want to do is I want to show them the science behind addiction. That first session seems to get people... They just go, I fully get it now. And you can always tell, after that first session, people are just like, I'm going to do this. And you see that change in the face, that, you see it happen.
Brilliant.
But
Must be dead gratifying.
Yeah, it is. There's nothing better than watching people not only just beat their addiction and the recovery, get through recovery, but watching people change their mindset, their emotions. Like, I've got a girl that, was very low in confidence, would hide away from situations, rather, sort of avoid. But I've watched her since she started with me, and the position she's at now. I don't want to say too much.
No.
Of
but
course.
she had the situation where in the past, her natural reaction would be to go home, shut the doors, close off, and that was it. Stay at home. But she had the situation, addressed it, noticed her emotions, understood why she felt that way, went home, reflected on, okay, why did I act this way? Why did I have these emotions? And then made a phone call, righted that whole sort of situation with this other person, and now we're mates and are going on, like, walking together. Watching that, for me, it's something amazing to know that I've helped someone do that. I've not done it for them. I've just helped them.
Yeah, you've given them a bit of a guide rail. Yeah.
I've just sort of...
All the situation, you might be helping some fella get back to his family, or get moved back in with his kid that happened. Maybe they wouldn't have come back eventually. Like,
kids,
you do so much good.
Kids are the biggest one.
Big driving factor for people.
Because for me, it was my son. I've got a daughter now.
Have you?
I've got a daughter now, yeah. But at the time, I always say my son, because I only had my son at the time, played a massive part in my recovery. And I will use, like, if people come, I've actually got a guy that comes from recovery. A baby's on the way. He's actually had the baby now, but it was so relatable to me, because I was like, if I know if I can save someone in addiction at 30 or 40, I will then save the child that's 1 or 2. I will change their life, because if they didn't come out of that life, they would have endured a life of having an addicted parent, which my son nearly had. Well, he did for 15 months. Yeah, he had a father that was addicted to cocaine, that put cocaine above him. I'll admit that. At the time I wouldn't. I'd say, of course I fucking don't fucking tell me I'm the best I'd ever. I wasn't. I was fucking a boy. I would say that I was a boy. Yeah. That put drugs above my son. So I remember that the first day he ever stayed out, he'd stayed at my mum's. He'd never stayed out before. He'd obviously been around my mum's and that, but he stayed out this particular time. And I said to my missus, I won't get on it, because what was happening in this incident is she said, okay, we're going to go out, we're obviously going to drink, we're going to I take drugs, but I want the lying. Just let me stay in bed for once, because it was always me. I was like, yeah, of course I'll do that. I meant it at the time. I believed that I would, but of course my addiction wasn't going to allow that to happen. So the night happened. I went out, obviously got on it all night. It's 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm still there, wide awake. She's been to sleep. She wakes up. I'm still wired. I pretend to sleep as well, but she knew a mile off. And she got up. She goes, "Our son's going to be home soon. We can't be laying in bed." And me, it's exactly as what I always did. I stayed in bed, and because my want to use more was so strong, I was texting someone to drop off some more. I knew my son was coming home, but didn't care at the time. Now, my son actually got dropped off, and I always remember, and I use this quite a lot in my service. My mum dropped him off at home. He walked in the door, and he stood at the bottom stairs shouting, "Dada, Dada, Dada," and I didn't get up out of the bed because I was too weird and paranoid and wired in my room. I remember laying there and I was listening to him, and because I was scatty and thingy, I didn't go down to see him. It fucking cuts me up. It really does hurt me.
It's hard work listening to it.
But that's me putting drugs above my son. But eventually he stopped. My missus took him into the front room to look after him, and then my drugs arrived, which got put through the letterbox. I didn't want them to be. I'd say put them in the letterbox. Don't put them through, because it'd be falling floor. But anyway, they fell through the letterbox. Of course, my missus found them, and she come up. She come flying upstairs saying, "What the fuck? What's all this?" Rightly so.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be looking after my son. He's come back from his nan's house, and I'm ordering more cocaine. She started shouting and going off her head at me, and then she went to turn to walk to the bathroom. Now, of course, to flush it down the toilet. Now, you should have seen how fast I got out of that bed to stop her, but I couldn't get out of bed to see my fucking son. It's disgusting. Do you know what I mean? And I look at that. I can see that clearly now. That's me putting drugs above my son. We should have seen how quick I got out of that bed to stop her doing that. And at the time, I wouldn't see that. I couldn't see that as being a problem. But once I got into recovery and I started thinking back of what the things I've done, that's not dad, is it? That's not father. It's a joke of a man, a boy. I always say a boy. That's what I was. That's just a boy. But that was me putting drugs before my son. So if I could do that, if I stayed in addiction, what else could I do?
Yeah, how far could you have gone?
Now, if that didn't happen, and before that happened, if someone told me that, I'd say no chance. I won't fucking do that. No way I'd do that to my own son. But I did. I did do that. Yeah. So now I look back and think, if that's capable, if that's possible, what else could have been possible? For my life, my son. Yeah. So that.
Well, thank fuck you sorted it out, mate.
That's it.
I think there'll be a lot of blokes will have had experiences to relate to that as well, for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
mate, this has been one of the most fascinating talks I've ever had.
Yeah.
Good, I've fucking thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, then, I think most people know what's on the other end, on the other side of it, because you only need to have one sober weekend, and you know how good life is.
Yeah.
You know, I was thinking about our upcoming chat. I was up on the top of the hills on Sunday morning because I didn't drink Saturday night. 7 a.m. I was up at the top.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. I mean, I knew that anyway. Like, I have a okay balance, whatever. But a lot of blokes know. They might have done it once, even if it was a year ago. They know what they're missing out on. But I guess to finish off, why should they sign up? What are they going to end up? Yeah, what's your life like now? Obviously you've already said you appreciate being out with your kid, and it's magic.
Yeah. For me, and what I would push someone into recovery is the peace of mind. Being able to sit comfortably in your own home and relax. Because I know someone that is deep in addiction cannot do that. Because the second they are left at home by themselves, then there's nobody there to tell them no. That torment, that voice, that urge, that craving we was talking about before gets so strong they go and get a bag. Then what comes off that is that same cycle of fucking carnage that follows it. But being able to sit so comfortably, I'm saying that right, and content with my life at home. So not being tormented in the mind.
Right.
That's the biggest thing you'll get from recovery, is that torture that nobody sees. No one sees the torture. It all happens internally, because when you drink and when you take drugs, once it's all worn off, you torture yourself in your mind. You question why you do it. You beat yourself up. You tear yourself apart in your brain, because you look back. Such things like that story I just told there, you look back and you crucify yourself for doing this type of stuff. And that's where guilt comes in. You've heard of shame and guilt. And you will sit there and hate yourself. You hate the person that you become. You hate your decisions. You hate your choices. You hate your life. But nobody sees this going on. It all happens inside your head. And you hate it that much, you won't talk to people because you're ashamed. You're ashamed of how you feel about yourself. And I know that everybody that's struggling with addiction is going through that. I know it. So if you want that to stop, then stop drinking, stop taking drugs, because that will stop once you stop.
Yeah.
That voice. So killing that addiction will give you that peace of mind, that sort of sense of loving yourself, basically, not hating yourself, not hating the things that you do. That would be the biggest thing that I'd say.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I did not expect that answer.
No, I wasn't
I thought
expecting that
I would have put the money on that basic, simple answer that most people, oh, well, you get to do stuff on weekends, enjoy. But that's far more interesting. But you've seen it from the other side of everything.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Don't get me wrong. There is the great.
Yeah.
Being present is another thing. So being present for your children.
Yeah.
Like you can be there, but you could be just like, oh, fucking, just leave me alone. I found that would happen a lot. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Didn't want to know my son, didn't know my wife, I just wanted to recover. But when you stop, you don't have to recover. So you're present. You get to enjoy life, you get to enjoy moments, you get to experience watching your children grow up. You get to know them, you get to see what they find funny, you get to see their personalities, because you're present, you're watching them, as opposed to just being there. That's another big thing, because when you're in addiction, because a 2-day bender, I don't care what anybody says, that takes 3 to 4 days to recover from.
Yeah,
minimum.
It does. Like no one's going like the next day bouncing up around. They may act that way, but in the head they're not. Now, if you've got children and you've got like a wife or husband or whatever it is, those 4 days you will just be the most disconnected, horrible person to be around, because you've got no patience whatsoever, you've got no interest in anything, you're just a zombie basically, and you will miss out so much, especially with your children. Kids come into it massive for me.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine the effect of that one. Like, I feel it already with me. I mean, it's just been my stag do. Tom was best man.
Yeah.
So 2-day bender and fucked, and then just
fucking ruined me.
Just a shit fiance. It is fiance for man, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. It sounded really feminine.
It did sound a bit like that.
I don't really use that word much. But
so you're the fiance.
I am.
Yes,
Anna. That's not the girls' version, is it? Both of you.
It would work for you either way.
Yeah, we'll stick with it. Just a shit partner for that week.
Yeah.
Just shit. And then, like, you know, that's just, and I can imagine you bring kids in. I mean, I look at my dog sometimes if I'm too rough to walk him.
You feel guilty for not walking it.
I feel guilty, yeah.
Yeah.
So, God, yeah, I can imagine with the kids, man. Yeah, we all know it's not fucking smart.
Yeah, even just from beer, you feel that fucking guilt the next day.
Yeah.
If you've had too many.
Yeah. So, yeah, brilliant. So, the course, do you have a specific date that's coming out?
Yes, it is the first Tuesday of May, which is
Next week.
June.
not the first Tuesday of May. First Tuesday of
June.
June.
Yeah.
I think it's the 2nd. Is it? Let's have a look just to be sure.
Yeah, double check.
Can't find my calendar now.
Yeah, I'll pause it for a sec.
So the 3rd of June, that's when the online program's going to start. And you know, if with how I'm doing it now, if people are struggling and they're not actually wanting to commit to a service, I'm going to do a whole month of content. I'm going to go through my first session. I'm going to give everything away basically, because if I do that, someone might even take that and go and recover, and it might change their life. So through that whole month, I've got a WhatsApp group going. I've got people from all over the country. So it's exciting when you think about it.
I bet.
All over the country, like north, south, east, west. We're putting out content into the WhatsApp group. We're going to set out this week dates for Zoom meetings. I'll be telling my story. My coach Robin, she'll be telling her story. Then I'm going to do basically the blueprints of how my recovery works, how it works and how to beat it. I'm not going to hold back. I'm not going to go, if you want to know how to beat it, you have to. I'm going to give it all away, because if it helps someone, it helps someone. But then after watching that, if they want to join and have the support and stuff, and the program I've created that's got a whole load of mindset tools in it as well. It's not just about addiction. It's crafting that life of achieving, managing emotion, stress management, psychology. There's loads in there. I've took my recovery and leading up to my recovery program. I've just took that and made a program out of it.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not perfect. I've not got the answer to everything.
No.
But I
Bit of a guide, though.
yeah, I've got a guide to how to better your life. And
I don't think there is one answer to it, is there?
No.
Surely not.
No.
And the most of it all is like, I know for 100% certainty I will never, ever drink or take drugs ever again in my life. Cocaine, alcohol, weed, pills. I will never do it. And I'm so comfortable with that decision.
Yeah.
It's not a problem for me at all. I've been around people using, been around people drinking. I don't sit down and be like, oh, I miss that, I want that.
Yeah.
I simply don't, because how this system works as well, you rewire your brain. Like I was saying before, you've got these big massive whys, these huge reasons why you don't want to do it. You recondition your brain to not see fun with drinking drugs anymore. You just see the bad things. So when I see drinking drugs, I'm just like, oh, that's not for me.
Yeah.
And then I never struggle. I can be around. I choose not to. I don't see the point, but I can be. I can be around people drinking. I can be around people taking drugs. It doesn't bother me whatsoever. If I'm honest, I don't. I live a dead simple life now, me. Do you know what's happened? I find I'd be happy to sit at home. And this may sound absolutely fucking boring to people, but read a book. That for me is great.
Yeah.
That's relaxing. That's because I know I can do that. I can sit at home and be at peace.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't do that when I was in addiction. That torment. Get back. Then the aftermath of beating yourself up and destroying yourself mentally inside your head doesn't take place anymore. So peace. I like peaceful things. Just to sit and relax.
I think most people know that's where it's at, really. You know.
There is nothing better than a good book.
Yeah, or versions of that. You know, I had a quiet weekend. I'm out in the garden just doing some shitty DIY. Usually doesn't work. Dog sat there, and it's perfect.
Yeah.
That's all you need. You're like,
It's peaceful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most people know, when we start getting to this age, most people know it ain't in the pubs. It might be, some lads once every few months have a catch up, whatever, but life at home,
It's
good stuff.
The little things in life.
Yeah.
And
It takes a long time to realise that, though.
no.
It does, and it's your taste, isn't it? Again,
Yeah,
I
of
keep
course.
saying the age, it's like the taste of it, isn't it? Like, when you start getting above 30 and you start having a partner and kids, it ain't outside the house anymore. Like, the real happiness is pretty much
Inside the
in your
house.
family and your closest friends, and if you can do something, say, with your closest friends that doesn't involve getting hammered, then you're going to take a lot out of that as well.
Getting into bed at 9 o'clock as well. I need love actually doing it. Do you know one thing actually I noticed throughout my recovery is I can go to sleep now. Like that.
Yeah?
I can literally I can make the decision, okay, I'm tired now, I'm going to go to sleep, and I can roll over and be in the sleep within maybe 10 minutes.
Because you got a bit of peace about yourself.
Yeah, because I could just relax. But when I was in addiction, even when I wasn't drinking, I wasn't taking drugs, it'd take me hours to get to sleep. I'd lie there for at least an hour and a half every single time,
Right.
listening to some like the TV or something like that. I just couldn't get to sleep. But now I can just go, okay, time to go to bed. I'll go to sleep. Locking my door as well. While I was in recovery, this sounds so simple, but while I was in recovery, walking in my house and locking my door was something that I enjoyed doing, because I knew once it was locked, I wasn't going back out with it. I wasn't making up a lie that I needed to go and get my lunch. I need butter for the bread tomorrow to get my lunch, or I need to go and get some ham. I'd be texting the dealer, meet me at the shop at 7:56 on the dot, don't be late. Make sure you're there, because at 7:55 I was leaving the door, but that was dead peaceful for me, because I could go in the house, just lock my door. I've got another thing as well that I do. In my back of my wallet, there's £100, and it's been in there since the day I started recovery. Now it's not the same notes. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I will swap the notes, but if it's lower than 100, I'll go the cash. I'll sooner go out my way 10 minutes to go to cash point and fill it back up to 100. But the reason I carry that round is I was constantly drawing £100 out of the bank to give to a dealer, because I get a team for £100. So it was always drawing out £100, going to give it a dealer, and then after that it'd be bank transfers and whatnot. But when I got into recovery, I had no reason to go to the cash point. No reason at all. I didn't need cash. If I had to pay something, I paid on my card.
Yeah.
I just no reason to go to the cash point, and I can't remember what it was. For one reason or other, I had to go to the cash point this one particular time. I had this flashback. I was like, fucking hell. Last time I was at this cash point was because I was buying drugs. I wasn't this time. And I took the money out and I used it for something, whatever it was. But then it got me to thinking, I was like, I was always giving my money out. It was a different wallet to this now, actually. I've changed the wallet. But I remember I thought, I'm going to put £100 in the back. And it's like a little souvenir that I keep in the back of my wallet. It's just £100. So simple, but yeah.
Keeping hold of it reminds you ain't spending it, sort of thing.
It's like spending it on drugs.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a little token that I keep.
It's an expensive habit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
massively.
Jesus Christ.
Massively.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Well, fair play. Good on you.
Thank you very much for coming down.
No, it was a good
Yeah.
chat. I
Great
enjoyed
chat.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed that. Appreciate your honesty and everything.
No.
And we will put every link you send through to us on our videos and stuff.
that. Yeah,
So we'll sort that out. And hopefully, I mean, I would love to think maybe this podcast, listening to you for a long, getting to know you, will help someone. If we can bring one person to you, that make me very happy. But
Yeah, shit, yeah.
yeah, but you're doing good. So thanks for what you're doing, mate.
no, thank you very much. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah,
Good.
good man.
That's good.
Good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Right, we'll see you next time.
Right.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
So yeah.